All right, here we are in episode 3 of our patch review series. My name is Chris, and I'm once again joined by Johnny.
Hey, what's going on, Chris? I can't wait to talk about these changes, man. This is a huge blanket of everything that's going on right now, so it's going to be interesting.
All right, and then joining us for the first time, and hopefully some more down the line, is my other friend Jason. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
I guess. Happy to be here and hope there's more down the line too. Um, I started playing League. It's actually kind of a strange story. It was part of a job search after I quit my IT job. I was looking to break into game design around 2013. I randomly found Riot while I was searching for game design jobs. It looked like a really cool, fun, non-corporate kind of environment to work in. Company that cared about its games. And so the game design roles that I wanted to apply for, they required you to be level 30. And some of the balance roles required you to be gold or higher, so that you would understand the game you're making. They asked your summoner name. They even asked things like, who's the worst designed champ in the game? How would you fix it? So I signed up and I started my League journey. I played several weeks of custom Dominion games with bots.
What season was this?
Sorry?
What season was this?
This was season 3. This was right at the beginning of season 3. I think Jinx had just come out. Vi had just come out.
All right, keep going.
Yeah, we had that awesome theme song on the front page. Anyway, I eventually got to 30, applied for the job, and never heard back. Not even, we're not interested, not even an email, nothing. A couple months later, I applied for another job there, and no response. So, through that, but I did find myself really liking the game. Loved how it just combined that like team sport with the strategy, the best MMOs, playmaking, the action games. It's kind of hooked. I worked up the courage to get into ranked. Pretty big League player since. Made platinum for the first time in season 6. And since then, most seasons I wind up kind of in the lower half of platinum in either solo, flex, or both. Few seasons I hit the bankrupt wedge in the random teammates wheel and I get stuck in gold. Last season I made it to plat in the final day of rank. So I'm a support main, much like Johnny. I play mid pretty frequently as well. Occasionally I'll play top, and I'm the world's worst jungler. So looking forward to giving you lots of great opinions on the jungle changes sometime.
All right, that's cool. I didn't know you had any ties to the actual game, trying to work with them or something way back when.
Yeah, I don't tell a lot of people that, but I guess now everyone knows it.
That's cool. That's cool. A long time ago, I had a similar aspiration. I wanted to like do something with Blizzard Entertainment, but I'm kind of glad I didn't do that.
I applied there. They were at least nice enough to send me the no email.
Okay. All right, let's get right down to it. And this will be just getting right into the biggest change of the season, maybe even so far, and that is the fact that every champion in the game is going to have an extra 308 hit points at level 8, and 70 at level 1, and then an additional 278 or whatever over the next 17 levels. And I gotta be honest, I haven't made much of an effort to read what the super hardcore reasoning is for this, but I gotta believe that this, in combination with like the sustain changes, is some kind of attempt to slow the game down, especially with the turret changes down bottom. What do you think, Johnny?
You know, this is I've never seen something like this before. I'm assuming, why are they slowing the game down when the games are already 20 minutes? I don't know what type of like game change or game time change that they want. For the games to go longer, it seems a little silly. Because could already go up to, especially in bronze, silver, and the lower, and sometimes even in pro play, up to 55 minutes and higher. So slowing it down is like the worst decision they could make.
Well, that's assuming that they're only considering either the pro scene or like non-pro play.
Yeah, I haven't seen pro play where there's been any extended games recently, so that could be attributed to that.
I think that's definitely an interesting take. I definitely agree that you wouldn't want to slow the overall game down more. I'm not so sure that's what's going to happen or what they're intending to happen with this. I think it's more like they want to slow down combat. And they want to slow down kind of the speed with which champions get burst. They did talk a little bit about that in their quick gameplay thoughts back from May 6th. They had a pretty good article. I tried not to see too many opinions out there from the web, but I did want to see kind of what Riot themselves were thinking. And it seems to be more about slowing down combat just a little bit, so that people have more time to get in their skills, decisions. I'm not sure I love the direction of it. I think the intent is definitely good, right? The game has definitely been a little bit too damage heavy recently, at least in my opinion. A bursty champ can just look at you and you're dead in like 0.73 seconds.
I think that's been
So
true for a very long time, to be honest, though.
it has at certain times and it hasn't at certain times. I remember like season 3 was definitely true, and they slowed it down for season 4, and you'd have the team fights lasting 2-3 times. So you definitely don't want it to be that long, but think it's in a little bit too fast of a place right now. So I think that's the intent behind the base stats increase. What's weird to me, I want to hear what you guys think of this, is how they gave the same exact stats pack to every single champion. Like, regardless of what the role is, regardless of how much HP or armor they already started.
Yeah, that's definitely that definitely is peculiar. The sheer broadness of the change is something we're going to go down on like a case by case basis as we speed through these, but there are some huge outliers in my opinion that some of it's just completely meaningless, and other stuff I think is just absolutely damning. Do you have anything else to say, Johnny?
Well, tankier, tanks are going to get tankier. I don't understand this umbrella change. It's like a huge umbrella towards the every single champion in the champion pool. It doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah,
I'm not a professional, so I have no further opinion on
yeah,
why they did it. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I'm sorry. I did briefly mention this to Jason that I would have actually been cool with every one of these changes, except the ones that are just a little too hard. The number I heard thrown around a lot is this was supposed to be a rough like 10% nerf to like healing and shielding. And I would have been actually pretty cool with all of these changes if they actually reduced like the damage of like every ability in the game also by like roughly 10%. The fact that they only like altered the like champions with sustain and left every like pure damage champion alone, I feel like all this is going to do is make existing champions just even more powerful, because I don't really think this is enough of a buff that's really going to slow down the dedicated hyper carries much, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I think the hyper carriers are going to probably be the biggest beneficiaries of this, since they're usually the most exploitable in the early game. And had they tamped down all the damage in the game by 10%, that would have been another way to do it. And I think in some ways, maybe would have been a better way. There's definitely pros and cons to each. But if you're talking champs like, I don't know, Kassadin, Jinx, Kale, Aphelios, I mean, they're going to be huge beneficiaries of this. Even if they're getting like slight nerfs to, in the case of like Kale, her heal. Just the fact that she is a late game hyper carry that's going to be able to do that consistent damage and not care if some tank has 300 more health. She's going to benefit so much more than someone like a Talon or a Draven or something like that.
I want to see Master Yi in pro play because of this change.
I think you're probably right.
What makes you think he's more likely to see pro play because of these changes, Johnny?
No, I didn't say it was likely. I just said I would like to see him now in pro play.
Yeah, aside from like goofball like funnel strats from time to time, I don't really think he'll ever be like a mainstay.
You guys remember Scar's AP Master Yi getting like 19 kills in a game?
Yep.
I don't remember that, but ages ago, before I had shame, AP Mastery was something I kind of enjoyed. And
I'll admit that one too.
yeah, well, during the very first iteration of Katarina, it played really similar, and I liked those champions way back when. They played kind of similarly. All right, let's move on. we pretty much already kind of discussed this, but yeah, all of the basic Grievous Wounds effects got a nerf, and then all of the enhanced effects also got a nerf. And I did bring this up with Jason earlier, and he did correctly point out that this kind of went over my head, that somehow this is actually a convoluted buff to healing and shielding, because Jason pointed out that this is actually like a net 5 or 10% buff if the intention is to nerf everything by 10%, which actually isn't even the case in most of these changes, so it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, if you're assuming that Grievous Wounds is going to appear in every game where there's healing on the other team, and not having some like crappy solo queue teammates that see a team of like Vladimir, Soraka, Aatrox, and refuse to buy the Grievous Wounds anyway. If you're going to assume that the Grievous Wounds are there, just to give an example, if you had like a base heal back in the last patch of 100 healing, and the Grievous Wounds reduced 60% of that, you're only getting 40 healing. Whereas if now you have 10% less, so you have a 90 heal, and that Grievous Wounds is only doing 50%, you're actually getting 45 instead of 40 healing off. So in some weird way, it can be an indirect buff. A lot of the heals, as we're going to go through the list of changes, end up being a lot more than 10%. So in those cases, yeah, in those cases, it's very much not a buff to healing. But where you see changes in heals of only 5 to even like 12%, in theory, that champion could actually be getting buffed by this heal shield Grievous rework. It's kind of interesting. If you don't mind, I'd like to take one more minute and just there was something I really wanted to say about the heal shields.
All right.
Thanks, man. So Riot said in their quick gameplay thoughts, May 6th, that heal shields will have an easier time preventing allies from being killed by burst damage. And there was also this quote from the actual patch notes in the client. A big takeaway here is that our goal is not to nerf sustain. Each champion utilizes sustain differently. Some will be stronger with the update. We'll be keeping a close eye. And then this really interesting comment. Since increasing durability means that heals, shields, and sustain will matter more to everyone, we're nerfing these systems accordingly with approximately equal weight. And I find that to be a very strange comment from a designer's. If you look at the game, and you say that that all of the combat is based around burst thresholds, and all of the combat is based around one champion versus one champion, that might make some sense. But really, if you look at it in any other light, the large extended team fights where targeting is going in all different directions, the kind of extended trades that involve auto attacks rather than just the use of your entire kit of skills, when you increase the base stats, particularly the base health of champions, even if you didn't change the healing or shielding, it would have less impact, right? Like, what's a bigger impact? 100 heal versus 500 health? Or 100 heal versus 800? The higher the health gets, the less impactful these healing and shielding should. So it was very strange to me that as they added health to champions, they thought that it would be making heals and shields too good. It's a strange intent, and I was wondering what you guys thought.
Yeah, that actually was something I forgot to mention, that kind of bizarre hypocrisy of that. You got anything to say, Johnny?
Well, what does this mean for Vladimir, Aatrox, like even Zac, Soraka?
Oh, wait till you hear what I think about Zac.
Well, you know what's strange is that Riot's been really unique in keeping their champions to their kit, meaning, you know, they want Alistar to be a tank, they want Master Yi to be an auto attacker, they want Soraka to be a healer. So cutting healing and then decreasing Grievous Wounds is a little bit weird, because I like to see those champions in pro play that are like true to their kit, meaning Vladimir is supposed to go all healing, and so is Aatrox, you know. It's just really strange.
All right. Well, because of the sheer amount of similar changes in this, we're going to kind of do a different format than usual. We're gonna try to just not focus too hard on every change. Only the ones that are like super crazy we'll talk about a little extra. And not to get too off topic, but I do want to talk about this change to recall and how they couldn't bother to come up with a unique recall animation for people who are both super honorable and in Challenger. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Those exist.
I guess. All right, let's move on to our very first change, and we'll try to blast through these a bit. And I'll start things off with Aatrox. And the first thing I got to say is I think this guy is really weak in the late game because just the inherent slowness of his animations and his kit make him kind of weak. So I'm of the opinion that this is going to really hurt him, like, too much. Johnny?
Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye Aatrox in Pro Play. See you later. That's that.
Aatrox was really one of those champs. There's maybe half a dozen in the game that really relied on his ability to lifesteal within combat. And while Grievous Wounds is one of those items you should always be building if you see an Aatrox opposing, even on the opposing team, I think they hit him enough that this is definitely going to hurt him. If you guys.
All right, we're going to try to go down these pretty fast. There's like an outliner. Trust me, there are some of these that are downright criminal with like as much as 20, 30, even 40% nerfs to some of their like scalings. They're pretty fucking crazy. All right, let's move on to Ahri. I don't really have much to say about this. I think she's going to be perfectly fine because this is actually a nerf to her post-rework new passive. And her old passive that was also a heal, it was pretty much an afterthought, and this is pretty much going to also be an afterthought. So I don't really have a problem with this. It was never a core part of her kit, so I think she'll be perfectly fine.
Yep, Baker on a calling.
I agree completely with you. The only thing that will actually, I think, hurt her more is all the champs having higher stats. I think this change to the heal will do nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That'll be pretty much true of everybody. That'll even hurt the hyper carries to some degree.
Doesn't it offset?
Biggest hit.
Say that again, Johnny?
Yeah, but doesn't it offset since she's getting an overall stat boost as well? Doesn't it offset itself?
She's getting more, but I would say that the way to beat Ahri in general in a game wasn't usually to kill her a bunch of times in lane.
I think it's kind of hard to call it an offset for a mage because they don't really care about that stat. If this was a tank we were talking about, I think it would you could call it an offset because those are the stats they want to build. They want more armor, more MR, more health. Since she is already a mage that doesn't really build any health outside of, like, her core items that give health, like Everfrost or whatever, I don't really think that's going to really matter much for her. Alright. We're just going to skip past the ones that don't have any actual changes in their kit and just got the 300 extra health and bonus armor and MR. And this is on to action. This is another kind of afterthought ability. I think of this just like Ahri's, honestly. I really don't think this is going to hurt him at all. It was already just kind of a luxury of a skill. Johnny?
That skill blows. It's too situational.
All right. We're just going
to say it here. He'll be fine.
Yeah, we're just going to go. I'm going to start these off, and then Johnny will always say next, and then Jason, you can always finish it up. Does that sound good? All right, now we go on to Alistar. And now I'd just like to say here, I'm sorry if I get, as the further we go down this list, I think I'm going to get more emotional and more upset. It's nothing personal, Jason. But if you defend too many of these, I'm going to be really mad. Okay?
I found that a lot of the things that made me upset started with like the R's and the S's. So I think we might have.
We might implode. Yeah, we might implode around the same time.
If they fuck up Renekton, you guys are going to hear my goddamn computer break.
Okay, well you better get some.
I'll be disconnecting soon.
Okay, you better put some gloves on there, son. All right, let's go back to Alistar. To be honest, I feel like some of these changes to heals are almost nitpicking. Alistar already had one of the worst heals in the game. And this is just something nice for him to give his laning partner. Like the changes to Ahri, I also don't think this is going to hurt him much because he is all about that low econ game mode because his kit is so binary. What do you think, Johnny?
I love playing Alistar. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I agree.
I see it being maybe a little bit more of a deal than you guys see, but I think this is kind of in line with the heal shield nerfs, and I think Alistar will probably compare to most reports like he did last patch.
All right, scroll down a little to Annie, and this one, I mean, we're gonna probably repeat ourselves a few times, but I feel like this one is even more unimpactful than the last few we've changed because the fact that she gained a shield on this ability is only a recent adaptation of the skill she's had for like 10 years. And to be perfectly honest, only the movement speed component is actually important in this skill. The fact that it actually gives a shield is it's kind of unnecessary, historically speaking.
Yep, I got nothing to really add to that. Said it best.
It had been a couple of years since I had played Annie, and I tried her at support a few months ago, and it was only then that I learned that you could actually use her shield on an ally now. Um,
Yeah, I think that
so
also goes over most people's head. You're right.
yeah, I think that speaks to how insignificant it is compared to her burst kit. Which, by the way, that is actually going to hurt her. The base stat package. I think Annie is actually going to be one of the most hurt champs by that.
I think you're right because she almost just barely is able to 100% someone.
It's always one of those champs that, yeah, is really looking to just barely reach that threshold with the Flash Alt Tibbers Ignite. Um, and I think that's going to hurt her. I think we can basically ignore that shield change, but I think we're going to see her win rate drop a little bit. And that's kind of what I was talking about before with a lot of these unintended consequences from giving everyone the same stats.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty short-sighted and almost brain dead, as we'll find out as we keep going down this line. All right, Johnny, why don't you talk about this one first, and then Jason can go next, and then I'll finish it off.
I fucking hate this shit. His Severum heal wasn't even that good to begin with. I mean, it didn't make. They already nerfed it all the way into the ground from when he first came out, Chris, if you remember.
Oh, I remember. It was crazy.
How unbelievably absurd it was.
It was
This just hurts. Yep, exactly. And this just hurts Aphelios in pro play, in any elo play, in ARAM, and everywhere. So this change sucks.
You play Felios mostly for his blue gun, for his white gun, maybe for his green gun. I hate to see this change for him too because I do like Aphelios.
My favorite champ.
But again, as a hyper carry, I think that he's going to be the beneficiary of enough other things that this may actually be a break-even patch for him or better.
Better?
I disagree.
Understood. You might be right on this one.
He's going to lack in trades on his red gun. I mean, you could get... Yeah, it's
going to be hard to gain early.
All right. The only thing I'd like to point out is I feel like the Severum variant of his ultimate is actually one of the least used one. Everyone always goes for that Inferno combo. So as far as the ultimate change goes, I don't think that's one's going to be of much bearing at all. But the ability for him not to sustain in between trades is going to hit him very hard.
Yep.
Do you think that the extra 100-ish health is going to make up for that, or is he just going to be pressed out of lane easily?
I mean, considering the fact that all of his counterparts receive the same buff, I don't really think so.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on to one of my boys. It's near and dear to my heart, Azir. And I'm not going to start raging yet, because this was also a pretty underwhelming portion of his kit that got nerfed. The shield component is just kind of after the fact. It's all about the mobility with shifting sands, so I don't really have a problem with this change too much. It was always kind of weak and always kind of an afterthought. Although, honorable mentions to the point where this ability used to knock up people that he went through. And I wish he would get that back. That was cool.
That's what I was about to mention, that they should have kept that little tiny detail in there. As far as the shifting sands go, you're right, bro. It's so minuscule. It really meant nothing besides kind of like being flashy. Like, oh, we got a tiny shield. It's, doesn't really mean much.
We can hope that if this hurts him enough, that maybe they'll consider giving him that little knockup back.
I'd be into that because I love me some Azir, to be honest.
Yeah. great take on how this is going to affect his balance, but I would defer to you guys, and it sounds like you're saying not much of a big deal.
Not really.
The shifting sands, I don't think it's going to matter. The overall buff to durability, I think, is going to hurt him because he isn't someone that's going to 100 to 0 someone. He is going to have a lot of instances of damage, and that just means each one is going to get reduced by more, you know?
Right.
All right, let's move on to the first 100% total bonehead change, and that's Bard, the guy who just fucking got a buff 1 or 2 patches ago. And you're going to see a few of these, like, do they have just no fucking foresight whatsoever? I swear to God. Now, they literally just nerfed this guy even harder than the buff he got, which at one point must have been justified. Like, so I'm just left here scratching into, like, my brain. Johnny?
Fuck Bard.
Okay.
Awfully concise. Well done.
Well, you don't think he should have been able to keep that buff he got in our first video?
I absolutely think that they should have kept that buff. To nerf his fucking caretaker shrine is just unbelievable. It makes no sense. Why? After so many years, he was like this kind of lackluster dog shit support. I mean, he made pretty cool plays with his travel, but boy, to take away that sustain, it's just horrendous.
Yeah, this one definitely hurts. It's a little bit sad because the type of healing that I think they really wanted to go after, if anything, were the types of heals that could be used 2, 3, 4 times in the same fight. And that way, if combat is slower, you're getting more heals off, and then maybe if you really squint, you could see the argument for these overall heal shield. In the case of something like Caretaker Shrine, this is going to be set at the beginning of the fight, and really, like, it's not something that you're going to be able to use more with a longer fight. This 17% reduction, basically, in healing at all levels makes absolutely no sense to me. And I think they're going to have to give him most of this healing back.
What were you trying to say, Johnny?
I was agreeing with him, man. I was like, it's fucking terrible.
I think another thing to note that while Bard is technically basically an AP champion, most Bards do not build any AP. They're more inclined to build tank, off-tank, crazy support items. I even think they're more inclined to build some kind of AD build than there are to build AP. So this not only did this get nerfed, but his synergy is never going to really be used either.
Nope. You might as well take him AD carry. Fuck.
All right. Brief mention to Blitzcrank, who survived the nerf hammer. His shield is left unchanged from his passive.
That's unique to him. That's
wasn't a lot of champions who managed to be unscathed by this, but either someone missed it or they thought that it wasn't too good enough to get a meaningless nerf almost. All right.
Seems like your RimWorld colony.
All right, let's skip down to Camille. And I got to be honest, I really think this is a really good ability of hers. It really allows her to like dictate trade in the laning phase. And as someone who plays a shitload of top lane, this is definitely something where she can kind of set like the discourse for how trades are done with this ability. And I really don't like this nerf, to be honest. I really think it was very core to her laning phase.
You know, to be honest, 3% really might not make that much of a difference. She's still going to be strong no matter what. Especially with this stat growth, I don't think it's going to affect her that much. And she'll still be making those awesome trades and be really strong in the top lane and pro play like she has been.
So I think this is the... I'm sorry, were you done?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. This is the first time we've come to, I think, a maximum health change. And so you got to remember that the maximum health on Camille and all the other champs, obviously, is going to be a little bit higher. So although this looks like a 15% nerf to the shield, kind of is. It's not going to be as big because she's going to be drawing from a bigger health.
That was a very good thing to point out, Jason.
Thanks, Chris. With that said, Camille is one of those earlier game lane bullies that was kind of benefiting from more kills early on. And this kind of insult to injury of losing that ability to bully as hard because of the base stats and losing a little bit from her shield, that's going to be rough.
One last thing I'd like to say is I may have been kind of negative, but I do think she'll still be good, and she does still have her busted interaction with Divine Sunderer, where she converts the entire Sheen proc into true damage. So as long as she still has an interaction, she is still going to be top tier, I think, up there.
Yep.
Good point.
Nasty.
All right, let's move on to Cassiopeia, and this is one of the first ones I think that they went a little too far with the nerf. And
That's right.
I do believe as a super close range champion who is one of the most spammy champions in the game, if not the most spammy, and one of the most mechanically demanding champions in the game, I feel like she really needs that kind of machine gun heal potential, and she's not really a type that builds Riftmaker because she needs the mana. So this is just way too much. She just needs it as that kind of brawler-esque battle mage type.
You know, honestly, I think one of the more mechanically inclined champions is Draven, but
Well,
I just wanted to add that in.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just said she's one of the highest ones in the game. I think the hardest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this.
Particularly mages. Yeah, she's definitely one of the higher mechanic ones.
I haven't seen her in pro play since about 2018, but this shit fucking guts her. It guts her terribly in any way. You know, this is terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible.
This is basically a 25% nerf, right?
Yep.
20%.
Well, it's over 10, so fuck that.
That's for sure, and we're going to see some more of that. All right, let's move on to Cho'Gath, and I got to be honest, this one personally made me a bit butthurt because I'm one of those mid Cho'Gath fanboys. I love to play him against like the mages and the assassins. I think he's actually really good into those matchups. And part of the reasons why he's good is because of his obnoxious sustain from last hitting from his passive. And the idea that this... Now, they didn't take much of a hit in the early game, but just the fact that they touched it at all, I felt like it's too much. This ability is an afterthought after like 15 minutes into the game. And I think to touch it at all is just an overreach, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to hurt his laning phase, but I mean, with the initial stat increase, maybe that'll help a tad in the laning phase, but Jesus, dude. They didn't have to touch it. I agree. He's already so good, like, with that... Are they making people build Spirit Visage or something? I'm not understanding what's going on here.
Spirit Visage, I think, is going to do the same amplification to the lower amounts of heals. I don't think that was the cause.
Shockingly, that item actually didn't get nerfed.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
That it's amplifying got nerfed.
Oh, did it really? Oh, I don't know. I didn't know.
No, I think it's still 30%. They just nerfed everything else.
Saying it's 30% of a lower heal, so it's providing you less.
Well, yeah.
We can talk about that, I guess, maybe more in the items, but I didn't see the change to Carnivore being that big of a deal. Like you said, it's mostly at the early levels that's important, and it's just really a few points off the top. It sucks for Cho, but he'll still be really useful. He'll still be able to do his thing.
All right, let's move on to Darius, and I don't not like Darius. I do think he's a cool champ. I do play him now and again. And one thing I'd like to point out is that it wasn't too terribly long ago that his heal on this ability was buffed to like 15 to 45 based on at least 3 enemy champions hit. So while this does look kind of like a big nerf, this only just puts him back in the ballpark of what he was before he got this huge buff. And this ability was still very strong then. So I think this is perfectly fine.
Yep, I would tack this up to no change.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much in line with some of the other things that are based off of either max health or mixing health, and is really a very, very slight hit with a wet noodle. This isn't doing much to Darius.
All right, let's move on to Diana. Sorry. And this one, I gotta be honest, I feel very much like our Annie conversation with this. This champion is such like a dive bomber, more or less suicide kit, that the fact that she actually has a defensive skill is almost an afterthought. So I really don't think that this doesn't really change anything because she maxes this skill last also. So I think this is kind of just laughably meaningless.
Yeah, she probably just has to think about, or any pro player, which I see Diana a lot in pro play, just think about trading, a little bit better and watching your health pool. Oh, wait, the health pool got buffed. And the armor. And the magic res. Well, fuck me. I don't know. This is stupid.
Her and every other champ in the game, Johnny.
Yep. I keep forgetting it was a blanket, yeah, you're right, Chris. No change.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that they stick that on every single champion note, but I guess they're trying to be complete. I do think late game when she wants to dive and give her team some time by 1v4ing for a second or two. Sometimes that shield really does come in handy. And again, late game is where she's going to be building a lot of AP because the AP is the biggest hit I think that was taken on this shield. So I do think that late game she's going to have a little bit of a harder time doing that. Might push her towards slightly more defensive items later. I don't know. But it's not a huge deal.
Yeah. I think if anything, I don't really think it makes that big of a deal late game because it's always very small numbers because the base numbers and the scaling on this are just not that great. I think if anything, her just taking 1 point at this at level 1 in the jungle is the point that this is going to affect the most against monsters.
5 less base shield.
It's something, it's something.
Because you guys were saying that they wanted to slow down the fighting, right? Was what you guys were saying earlier.
To have just as much fighting, but to make those fights play out a little bit slower and give people more time to react.
Likely the jungle play out slow too, so you're not going to see crazy ass. I don't know.
All right, let's try to speed this up a little bit. We're going to move on to Dr. Mundo. The first thing I'd like to point out is they did not nerf his passive regen or the nerf return he gets from landing or last hitting with cleavers. So he did make this out slightly unscathed. Although the fact that they nerfed the health increase, this isn't the health he regenerates. This is the extra health he gains before he starts regenerating on his ultimate. And I feel like this is just, I'm of the opinion that he was actually better before his rework, so this is just another nail in the coffin, I think, for Mundo. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be. He lost so much durability for a lot of extra damage that he can't even really use that much because he has to auto-attack a lot.
Yeah, but he got a lot of great doctor puns.
What do you think, Johnny?
I don't. I only played Mundo a handful of times, so I really have no opinion. As far as pro play goes, I don't think we'll ever see him much anymore. He used to be really good in the jungle, but yeah, this doesn't mean much to me, to be honest.
I don't think this is a huge deal, especially given that he's going to have a bigger health pool to draw from. He's going to be able to let his health go a little bit lower before he uses maximum dosage. I actually think that Mundo will be fine.
I think he'll be in the same place he is now. I just don't think that's a good place.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
All right, let's move on to Echo. And similar to our discussion with Azir, I feel like this is small enough on an ability that is only minuscule in terms of defensive that I think he'll be perfectly fine. This was a very small nerf.
Yeah, and just like you said before, I don't think people even max this skill first. Typically they go for Q or E with Lichbane.
You have to max this second.
You have to?
Yeah.
Because of the percentage?
It has a couple different things it does, but Phase Dive, it just has, it's all in the ratio, so there's no point in maxing his E second.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I guess I was playing Echo wrong the whole time. I'm going to stick that stick up my ass. All right.
Yeah, this is a 10 shield. Let's move.
All right, now we're going to move on to Elise, a champion you don't really see much in the game, but nevertheless, they saw fit to give a 20% nerf to her heal ratio. And let me just throw a question out there. When is the last fucking time you ever saw Elise out-sustain fucking anything? Ever.
When was the last time you ever saw Elise? It's been months for me.
That too. This is just, I feel like this is such petty nitpicking that they nerfed this, and this is only on her autos and the auto attacks of her spiderlings that even generate this heal to begin with. And this ability also has a flat amount, but it's also pathetic. Moral of the story is this is just fucking pointless.
Yep, I played at least one time in my whole league career, and I got no opinion.
What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, could have they gone to 9% AP? Could have they just left it alone? Probably. I think if you're gonna accept that that they think that reducing heals and shields is the correct direction for the game, again, that's more of my my core issue. I don't think that this champ is particularly problematic in reducing it from 10 to 8. What will it do to her? I have no idea. I haven't seen her in months.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Evelynn was another champion that escaped the nerf hammer. She regains health when she's invisible. When she's outside of vision, once she has 1 point in her ultimate. Just throwing it out there. She didn't lose any of that. And then we move on to Bonehead fucking nerf number 2. They just fucking buffed this guy. And I was just making a big deal about why he needed this buff and stuff. And he literally just lost exactly what he just got. And they reduced it against monsters too, which isn't even something that they buffed when he got the top buff here. So I gotta be honest, this really bums me out, and I kind of have the same feelings I had in the last video.
Yep, I agree 100%. He's just going to be useless like he was before. He needed that buff really bad, and they just took it away.
I don't think he's useless. It's just so much of him, his potential is gated behind his ultimate, and my argument was that he needs to be able to contribute more when his ultimate is off cooldown.
Yeah, he's useless.
The ultimate really can be game changing. But yeah, this is gonna hurt him, especially 70 to 55 at that max level. I forget which order Fiddlesticks max is in. Are either of you guys aware offhand?
I don't know, but it seems kind of hard to imagine him not having to max this first. I feel like maxing his silence or his fear doesn't really make as much sense.
Healing is a big part of his kit because he's often going to. I'm sorry, Johnny, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I played him in the jungle a few times. If you don't max your fear, you have very meaningless ganks.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Yeah, but he's often draining from multiple champions, and to be cut from 70 to 55 on that's rough.
Very rough. All right, let's move on to Fiora. Now, this might be a bit controversial, but now this is my opinion. I think that this champion, she has such a high ceiling, depending on how good the person playing her is. And my opinion is that these changes are not really going to hurt her much, because I think a lot of her kit is based around the damage and proccing the vitals to do the true damage, and doing her block at a good time. The little amount of sustain she gets from actually hitting the vitals, it's not that much. It doesn't scale well into late game. Getting a 4 proc grand challenge, that heal zone, that is really nice, but it didn't take that much of a heal. All in all, I think the Great Fioras are still going to be a terror, and I don't really think this is too big of a deal.
Yep, I agree. I love that Fiora is the duelist, and her kit is just based around the duelist dance passive. So I don't think it's going to hurt her really that much. It's such a minuscule heal. She's going to be that great duelist up in the top lane.
Yeah, Fiora's main defensive tool is her riposte, and that wasn't hurt at all. And so really, most of her defense wasn't touched. That's actually something if you're looking for champs that may be a little overpowered in the coming couple of patches. Look for those champs that have defensive tools that aren't actually heals or shields. You may be able to climb easy. Fiora will be fun.
All right, let's try to move this on a little bit faster. Next up is Galio, and first thing I'd like to say is this passive of his magic damage resistant shield has actually been nerfed 2 other times, or at least 1 or 2 other times. I think at one point it was 25 or even 30. So this makes me a little sad, to be honest, because I feel like it just gets him more away from that supposed to counter magic damage type of gameplay that he doesn't really necessarily represent too big. All in all, he's still going to be like a CC powerhouse and all that, so it's not really going to be that big of a deal. It just makes me feel bad.
Yeah, just keep in mind too, the Shield of Duran is maximum health, and with that base health buff, it's gonna hurt him a lot less. So
I'm sure you undercut Jason with that one.
no, I just said don't forget. I
Yeah.
gave Jason a shout out for that.
Hey,
I'm
man,
not that fucking smart.
I'm spreading the gospel here. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think the shield is going to hurt him, especially since it is based off of the maximum health. I do agree with Chrissy. I wish that would bring him a little bit back more towards the magic damage kind of counter, because there aren't really that many of those in the game.
Yeah, pretty much just nothing.
I think like barely even Cassidon, right? Like barely.
Not really.
Barely.
Pretty much the same as Dialga.
Ugh. Yeah, because it's Q. Yeah.
If you
let's
also be,
move- I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
But
What were we gonna say?
I was just saying, there are other like kind of semi counters to magic if you build, for example, Braum correctly. But that's just a tangent. Let's move on.
Who?
He's saying
Braum.
Braum's a block thing, or are you referring to when he
Oh.
gives people MR?
I thought you meant Braum mid. I was like, get the fuck out of our channel. Braum mid.
No, just talking general counters if you see a lot of AP on the.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, let's move on to Gangplank. And honestly, this is a skill that's remained largely unchanged for like his entire life cycle. There was a period in time for many years where it was just like 300 or 320 or something, and then they did add the missing health when he got his second or third rework. All in all, this skill is always and is going to be about the cleanse. It does suck that this got nerfed, but I'm of the opinion that Gangplank isn't really in the greatest spot, to be honest, to begin with. And I don't really think this is actually going to change much. He's still super situational with the barrels. He lands him, he's God. He doesn't land him, he's super unimpactful, in my opinion.
Just remember, bro, he is in pro play right now in MSI, and he's been making meaningful impact. So I'm not sure how this is going to affect him, but I hope to see him in pro play still. And he's going all crit, so I don't think it really matters.
Well,
Remove Scurvy doesn't
shut me up. All right.
Yeah,
Yep,
Gang,
shut the
as
fuck up.
far as I can remember, has been in pro play for quite a while, really since his rework and the Bilgewater themed rework thing that they did 5 or 6 years ago.
Yep.
Especially since he's one of those like late game scalers, I think Gangplank will actually.
All right. Oh, I don't know nothing. Okay, let's move on to Garen. And one thing I like to say, at one point on the PBE, there was a nerf to his passive, and someone had a couple of brain cells put together because they actually reverted that and it didn't make the final cut. And this, I guess, just like, though the health changes aren't going to help this one because this is bonus health and not maximum health, but similar to like Azir, this was like kind of just a utilitarian ability. The strength of this ability lies in the damage reduction, not so much the size of the shield. So I think Garen's going to be just fine.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Complete agreement. Let's move on.
Okay, one thing I like to say is the stat bonuses to Gnar and Mega Gnar. He is one of those champions that has an incredible amount of all of his base stats when he's in Mega Gnar. So this is actually going to be a pretty sizable buff to when he's transformed, because he already gained a lot of extra health, armor, MR, attack damage, and health and all that stuff.
Yep, he got spammed so hard last year in pro play. I hope to see him back.
Is his does he get extra health based on the health he already has when he transforms?
No, I think it's just a flat increase, but it's pretty sizable.
Okay,
Yep.
but you're just the package plus the extra health that he gets from Mega Gnar is going to be kind of insurmountable.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good for him. I think he's definitely one of the winners of this patch.
Yeah, I like that tag.
All right, let's move on to Gragas. Now, I am very butthurt over this change because it took him about 13 years to get this buff, and then he just fucking lost it right now. And I'm not sure, like, I don't know, I'm really mad about this because I actually kind of like playing him top from time to time, and this is kind of a bit of a fun passive to have when you're laning. And like I said, it took him forever to get this buff, and then he had it for about a month, and easy come, easy go.
Yeah, and I think honestly at MSI this year I saw him as I think support. I could be wrong though, but he was in the pro scene for a minute. I just can't remember which week, unless I'm retarded and I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he always manages to come back into the pro scene now and then just because of his like setup.
Yeah. Oh, the good. They've nerfed Gwen.
My friends, I think we need to pour one out for Gragas. This is in my opinion, a huge nerf. Even though it's maximum health, so a little bit of that loss from 8 to 6.5 is going to be offset. Like, he was a champ that was based around needing to keep using his skills constantly and keep charging that happy hour. And for that to be nerfed by almost 25%, was that really necessary?
But it's not the thing I'm going to get the angriest as we keep going. This does really make me upset, though. One thing I would like to see in the future is this just lowered the static cooldown on this ability so it can trigger on abilities more often instead of him having to wait like 8 or 12 seconds or whatever it is.
That way I can just like mash the freaking buttons all day and actually feel like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, 8 seconds. Yeah, I would like to see that go down to like 6, 4 at like 11, 16 or something like that. That'd be cool. All right, let's move on to Gwen. And I'm going to kind of have the same analysis on this champ as I did with Fiora, because I believe they're very similar champions. They're basically what I would call a like DPS check, and that is that they're just going to all in you, and that's pretty much the end of it. And obviously this is a hit to like her heal, but as long as she's still running Conqueror, which also got nerfed this patch, and she always has to run Riftmaker, which also got nerfed this patch, it's obviously going to put her in a more precarious position, but she still healed a ton with her passive, and her ultimate applies it like 12 times or something too. So I think she's still going to be okay, even if this kind of sucks for her.
Yep. I don't play Gwen. I see her a lot in the pro scene, and I don't think it's going to change. They're going to still spam her.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's times where you'll see Gwen, use that sustain to make outplays early, 1v1, 1v2. More often than not, it just won't mean anything. It's just a slight nerf, and I don't think it's going to hurt her too much.
All right. Next up, who survived the nerf hammer is Hecarim. They did not change his little Omnivamp he gets while his W is up. That's nice for him. And then next up is Alawi, and I don't really have much to say about this. Be honest, she is such a like binary champion, I guess, and her damage is still going to be like insane with the tentacles. It was nice that she kind of healed for him much, but I think the damage component is way more significant than her out healing damage she is taking during her ultimate, so I don't really think this is going to be too bad.
It's not significant to me. Yep.
She's one of those great low elo pub stompers because people don't know how to like maneuver around the tentacles.
Yeah, I would say top 3 of the pub stompers, definitely.
Definitely up there. She'll continue to be that. I do think that the heal is actually not really changing much because again she's drawing from a bigger pool of missing health. And really, if you like the Lowy, you'll continue to like the Lowy. No big deal here.
All right, let's move on to Aurelia here. And this was kind of a sizable nerf, and the sheer amount, I'm going to say that this is a much bigger nerf than, say, the nerf that Gwen or Fiora got, just because of her sheer over-reliance on Blade Surge. And especially, this is going to hurt her in the laning phase when she's constantly like healing off the minions. So whether or not people say that this is warranted, she's too strong, she's not good, she's just right, that's between like you and God, man. This champion, she's always been very on the fringe of kind of frustrating and super strong or just good enough. And yeah, what do you guys think? This one's tough to say.
Man, that heal reduction, they pretty much ripped her tits off with that. That's terrible.
Yeah. So this is a heal that has no base value. That she is going to be maxing first, I think, most of the time. In fact, probably all the time for Aurelia. So you are talking a difference between 11% AD versus 16% AD. You're cutting over 30% of the healing. This felt extreme to me. I was hoping you guys might have an idea on why they went that hard. Do you think that they just thought that she was overpowered and wanted to kind of nerf her and do the healing pass like in one fell swoop?
I think they're just stupid and they just didn't realize that, like, let's just cut something out of everybody and, we'll just say that everyone got hit roughly the same. And I bring this up a lot, but I think it's just an excuse for her to, like, get more changes later on. I think they just like making changes in this game.
Yeah, 30% of the healing is just that's heartbreaking for her. Sorry, Aurelia Mintz. Find something else. Maybe play a collie.
All right, let's try to go a lot faster here. All right, we're gonna move on to Ivern.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
Yep. No, just kidding. Go ahead.
What I'd like to see for this champion is just to have way more power shifted into Daisy, because I think all of his other abilities are merely kind of auxiliary spells that aren't very impactful. I like kind of his Daisy to be like much stronger. And
Have you ever tried?
yeah, I don't want to linger too hard on this. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal, even though it was a good ability because it blew up too.
Boo.
You got
This
anything to
isn't-
say?
Yeah, this is in line with the other heal and shield changes. I don't have much to say here. But if they shifted all the power into Daisy and then Daisy started running the other direction, I don't know, man.
All right, let's go on to Janna. And the one thing that kept me from crying too much about this, since I like me some Janna, was the fact that at least they left her ultimate alone at level 16. It still is 200, even though it basically got a 15% AP reduction since it applies 3 times. Yeah, I mean, this champion has just been nerfed many times, especially her Eye of the Storm. This thing has been nerfed several times. It's got to be at least 6 or 7 times over like the last 5 years or something. They keep trying to buff it a little bit too at the same time, and then they kind of pull back on it. All in all, I'm going to be a little bummed out, but I still think she's going to be good just because of all the little tricks and tools she's got,
Yeah, man, I love watching pro players, challenger players, higher elo play Janna for the disengage for dive heavy comps, and it's awesome. So I'm glad she didn't get hurt too bad.
I just want to tell a very quick story of many years ago when this was before the automatic sight support, on your support item. And Chrissy was playing Janna, and he was giving out 700 shields, 1,000 shields, hitting people up with tornadoes. And I looked over, I'm like, what is he building? It was all AP. He didn't even build the sight stone. That's how important I know that you think AP is on Janna. So it's a little sad to see the AP ratios come off, whereas they didn't hit the base values that hard.
Yeah, I would make this argument with every enchanter, but I do think there are some who really are only as strong as their abilities are potent, and that is why Janna, even to this day, and I was still building her full AP like 10, 12 years ago, I still would build her full AP today.
At least now you're taking the sight stone.
Well, yeah, you got to get the money. They make it so tough to make a fucking honest dime these days. You got to take the gold item. No more of those gold pretend seals and quints and shit.
Gold.
All right, let's move on to Jarvan.
Kargai's lucky pick.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I feel like this ability is another one of those complete afterthoughts. Even if you manage to hit a lot of people with it, it just really was never that strong. And he's still going to have his like crazy builds where people like basically build him like Talon and build him as an AD assassin. I think he's still going to be good in like his tankier builds too. This is just, it's just one of those nitpicking changes I feel like that's just pretty unimpactful.
Yeah, Golden Ages was a little bit silly. Never really was that impactful in team fights. The slow was pretty cool, so they didn't, nerf that or anything.
Yeah, that's actually the most important part, I would say.
Yep. So, I got no other opinion other than that. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I think this is a nothing burger. The shield will end up being probably around the same amount, and not the biggest part of his kit anyway. Let's move on.
All right, let's scroll down. We're going through a few here. I'm surprised, just an honorable mention or whatever, I'm surprised they didn't do anything to dick with Jin's passive with all the crazy numbers that they're throwing around. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they messed with that in the next couple patches, because he's definitely one of those champions that the game is actually balanced around because he can generate so much AD.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Bonehead change number 3. This champion just got a buff on all of this on her ultimate in the very last patch that me and Johnny went over, or maybe it was the first one. I don't remember, but yeah, they just took it right away from her because apparently it was a good idea 1 week, and then like 5 days later they were like, "Whoa, no!" I honestly think as like a support skill, essentially, I know it's all about like the repositioning and all that, but as like her only kind of like defensive tool, I know she has the little invisibility thing when she's upgraded, but I don't really like this, to be honest. I think it was good after she got her buff, but not too good. And the base number is so low that it's all in the ratio anyway, which I think is a good balance mechanic.
He is extremely prominent in MSI right now in pro play. I think even with these little tiny nerfs, the pros, I wouldn't say actually tiny. This is pretty. Yeah, I think the pros are going to be a little bit safer with her. I think with this though, the overall base stats should help a tad, but
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement too. I mean, as a support man, it's always really fun to watch Kai'Sa go in, and you hope you get your buffs, your shields off on her before she does it. Um, otherwise she starts pinging your abilities and flaming you. But anyway, I think she'll still be able to go in most of the time, even with a 10% shield. And she's one of those hyper carry champions that I think will probably continue.
Yeah, I think she'll still be good. This just sucks. Alright, let's move on to Karma, and this is one of the ones that is going to boil my blood because this has been one of my favorite champions over like the last 10 years. Before she got reworked, I was playing her mid a lot, and after she got reworked, I was still playing her mid a lot. And there was like a peak where I guess she was picked up by someone famous in pro play, because after that happened, man, she just got nerfed like 25 fucking times, I swear to God. So this is really upsetting because prior to this nerf, her ultimate E actually had a 100% AP ratio, and now it's only going to have 90. And that's just kind of sad. The heal on her W, I think, is pretty much meaningless. It's going to make all the goofy tank Karma tops butthurt, but yeah, it's just really sad, to be honest.
I don't really play Karma that much, and I got nothing really to say.
Fair enough. Chrissy stole my talking point. I was also going to say I think the renewal change was really targeted at the top Karma that are going tank. I don't see the E change quite as bad as you do. I think this is in line with a lot of the other enchanters, and she is at least one of those champions that can get multiple rounds of the E, and maybe even the empowered E off in a long team fight.
Yeah, they did buff her passive a while back to make it so she can get the ultimate off a lot more often.
Love that change to her passive, by the way.
Yeah, that was really fucking broken. That was cool.
Yeah.
Especially with like Ultimate Hunter, that is busted. Alright. They did not nerf Kassadin's shield on his MRQ thing, so that's nice.
I think that's interesting.
It actually explains that they had the forethought of it since they buffed it a couple patches ago.
I think it was more that they didn't nerf any of the magic damage shields. You won't see a nerf on Morgana or Hexdrinker either.
Yeah,
I don't think.
That might be true. No, you're probably right. All right.
Too much credit, Chrissy.
We won't go into this too much. The bottom line is all of the champions who already had grievous wounds got the nerf to theirs. And I'm not inclined to say too much about Kayle because she is so much about just like the auto attack beat down, and this is all about the movement speed. The heal is utterly pathetic, and it was better before she got reworked, and then it was terrible, and now it's just more terrible. So more terrible is not really that much worse.
Yeah, Celestial Blood. I'd rather her do fucking damage with it than heal me for 25. Fuck you.
Come on, man. That 25 heal could. Yeah, no, it's not going to do anything. I don't hate Kayle the way she is, but just let me say that I think she's going to be stronger just based on the pace of the new patch. I think she's actually going to be a great pick for top lane. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Kayn, who definitely got hit kind of hard. I feel like this is all going to be mostly just about Rost, and I feel like this transformation. I actually feel like this is going to hurt him a lot, especially since they already nerfed his Darkened Scythe passive once before a few months back, which also reduced the amount of healing he got while he was Rost. And I feel like he's just way too dependent on obnoxious levels of healing once he transforms, and I think any hit to that is just going to hurt him really bad. I think the change to Shadow Step is completely forgettable. I think that's meaningless. I don't have a problem with that, but nerfing his ultimate and his passive, this is really going to hurt for Rost. It's going to be meaningless for the Shadow Assassin, but yeah, this really blows for him.
Yep, I really wish that they would make him a little bit less lenient on the healing towards Rost. But man, nerfing it was just, that's terrible. I don't know why they would ever nerf that.
I would tend to agree with you guys on the balance, but what really boils my blood here is an 8.45 per 100 bonus AD ratio. How is anybody supposed to look at that and actually be able to think, like, what is this going to do for me? I hate, and you'll see it a lot through this patch, they went to some really bizarre numbers. You see a lot of, like, 10 to 9.25.
Yeah, I noticed that too. They kind of disrupted a kind of balance they had going where numbers actually look nice.
Something that I love that the balance team was doing for years was whenever possible, they would kind of move towards even numbers, and then, if necessary, slightly nerf or buff something else to keep the numbers even instead of having to go from 9 to 8.45. This is heartbreaking to me, just as a designer who studies a lot of clarity and UI, and just being able to communicate information from the player to the player. Riot has been doing that so well for so long, and this breaks my heart.
Okay, we're gonna skip down. And Kha'Zix, I feel like must be probably one of the most unimpactful changes in this patch, because this his heal that works kind of in a funny way. I think it's one of the most unimpactful abilities in the game that accompanies an ability that also does damage. I think this is utterly meaningless. He never really got shit from this. The heal doesn't even scale with AD, I'm pretty sure. Nope, it doesn't. So that just makes it also just stupid. Yeah, I think this is just more of that nitpicking that I didn't really care for. You got anything to say there, Johnny?
No.
Okay.
I also don't. I think I agree with your analysis here.
All right, let's move on to Kindred here, and I gotta kind of echo my Kha'Zix stuff here. I think the ultimate was just more about them just not dying. I think the flat heal effect was kind of an afterthought. And this ability she gets where she stacks up and then heals on her next auto attack, this is purely like kind of a thing she does in the jungle for the most part. I don't think it's really gonna... It's gonna hurt her, but it's not going to be that big of a deal, especially as she tends to build AD carry like as the game goes on. So I think she's going to be just fine.
Yeah, she actually never worries about trading after level 6 because she could use her ultimate to such like great potential, or even make it really bad, for other teams or your team. So the healing to me really, doesn't really mean much.
One of the things I actually do really like that they did is that a lot of the junglers that rely on their sustain to essentially be able to clear the jungle. Kindred is one of them. Nidalee to some extent. Trying to think of some others that are kind of escaping me. But as you look down the patch notes, you'll see that they often barely touch them or didn't even touch them at all at level 1. Here it's a change from 49 to 47, nothing. And then they would increase the amount that they were taking off as they got near the maximum level, and they'd be fighting champions more. So I thought that was just kind of a cool thought. As much as we think that maybe some of this was done thoughtlessly, that was one thing that I think they considered well.
Alright, let's move on to Kled, and one of the first things I want to point out is Kled already had like the most HP in the game when he's mounted, and this is going to push him like to like 3,000 or over 3,000 when he's like mounted in the late game, keep in mind that's 3,000 with like no items and no masteries. So this is only going to make him more of like a bit more obnoxious in the late game. Now, going towards this change to his passive, I don't really have too much of a problem with this. I always thought that just the fact that he can kind of recover his mount again was really strong. They didn't really hit it that hard. It's still going to be really good.
You know, if you didn't notice too, Chris, doesn't he get a shield on his ultimate? I don't. Why they not nerf the shield?
You're right, Johnny. He does. That's right.
Yeah. So they didn't nerf that shield, but they nerfed the mount percentage. Okay. So I guess it's not really going to mean much of a change.
My money says they just forgot about it.
Yep.
Kled, when he's dismounted, I'm reading it here, has between 410 and 1,838 health. I think that's with the new changes. So he used to have 330 to about 1,500. That's like 20% more health that he's going to have in his unmounted form. Because bonus health doesn't apply there. Do you guys think that's going to be a big buff to him, or do you think it won't do much? Because I feel like it's going to give him a lot of time, a lot of extra time.
I think these stat changes are going to be really strong on him because basically he got the same buff twice. So
he's going to be that. He's going to be that awesome lane bully that he has been in the past.
But do you think that he's also going to have a lot of the extra time that he's going to have to stack up that bar and remount? Do you think that's going to be a big change, or do you think most of the time, if he's going to die, he's still going to die?
I don't think it's going to change it much. He's if he can't like close the distance, he's not going to be able to remount because much of his ability to remount is being able to auto attack while he's dismounted. His only other way of generating courage is to shoot his Q, and that's not very consistent.
Right.
I don't think it'll change much.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Let's scroll down a lot, and we're going all the way down to Lee Sin. And as someone who's kind of always plays on the knife edge between like decent and not as great in the late game, I do think this change to like his stuff is going to kind of hurt him a bit. Not so much Safeguard, but more of Iron Will, since he does tend to build like a lifesteal item, whether that be like Gore Drinker or Ravenous Hydra or whatever. So this is going to hurt him, even though it is a very small change. I think he was really dependent on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I played Lee Sin in the jungle a few times. I guess, you just got to think about the trades. Doesn't really mean much. Shouldn't change too much.
Yeah, the Iron Will is only going to hurt him at the later levels. And even then, it's 25% versus 23%. So it's actually kind of below par for how much they actually took away compared to most of the other heal shield changes. I don't think this is bad.
All right, let's move on. Next up is Lilia, and the first thing I'd like to throw out is she did not originally have a heal component in her kit when she was released. This was something she got a couple months back, and I remember saying to one of you, or maybe it was Matt or something, that I thought she should have had a heal component in her kit when she was released. And then sure enough, like a month later, she got this effect, and yeah, I got a little bit of nerf, but I think it's still going to be really useful for her.
Yeah, I like the fact that they added that in, and I'm going to be a little bit upset that it got nerfed, but I can't be too mad. It's not that crazy of a nerf, so that's all right. At least she has the heal.
Right, I agree. And Lilia's one of those champs that that likes really long, drawn-out fights, so she may thrive in this meta.
Yep, that's true. All right, next up is Lysandra, and I actually don't really have a problem with this change whatsoever because her ultimate really just functions more as a stasis and like delay tool more than sustain. So I'm really completely unfazed by this change. Maybe like Joey will be upset by this or something, but I don't have a problem with this whatsoever.
I mean, she's never really been like crazy bursty, so I don't really have a problem either. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is not really a big deal for her.
All right. Next we're on to Lulu, and this is a champion that's been very near and dear to my heart for a long time. So even though she didn't get hit as hard as many of the other champs, it still hurts. It hurts me dearly, especially of her ultimate, which isn't technically a heal that got hit anyway.
Yeah, I played Lulu, I think, once. Again, the same with that champ I mentioned earlier. I can't remember. Elise. I've only played Lulu once, and she blows ass. So, as an enchanter, shouldn't, nerfs suck.
So I've played Lulu a little bit more than you have. I have 1.3 million mastery on her.
Wow.
In my most played champ in the last few seasons, I play her top, mid, bot, and support. And to see this is kind of heartbreaking. The help pick shield is a fairly significant nerf here. Again, remember that neither of these skills are benefiting from the Grievous Wounds nerf. Help picks is a shield, and Wild Growth is HP gain, which was never affected by Grievous. And maybe that's why they didn't touch it that badly on the base ratios, on the base amounts. But these AP ratios are a 10% hit from the original values. And Lulu is one of those champs that sometimes you did want to build some AP on. Things like Ardent Sensor. And this kind of changed. This is actually pushing her towards the territory of where she might be better off as tanky Lulu, which is better than a lot of people think.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut you off there a second. Johnny actually has to take off, so me and Jason are going to do the rest of this one by ourselves.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Totally understand. Nice chatting with you, Johnny.
Yep. All right. Have fun and go ahead and tell me about the Renekton changes so I can crash my car and be in a coma.
All right. Let's do
Yeah.
this sometime.
All right. All right. I'll see you guys. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it was nice seeing you.
All right. Nice meeting you, Jason.
You too, my friend. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
All right, let's move on to Lux here. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one. I think this has always been a pretty good ability since it's an area of effect shield. But since she is really all about like that burst, I don't really think this is too big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is two different hits that they're taking 5 to 25 off of. Again, it's kind of in line with the heal shield changes, and Lux was never about her shielding anyway. There was that, I guess, there was a short meta in Pro a couple of years ago where the Luxes were, I think, maxing Prismatic Barrier. And
During the
yeah.
aftershock phase.
Exactly. But now, yeah, not such a big deal. I think this will hit her a little bit more than some of those other champions that just had a small nerf on their shields. But it's not going to kill her.
All right, next is Malphite, and this was actually one of the few ones who literally just got nerfed by 10%, so I'm not too upset over this, even though I do like me some Malphite. This skill is actually, I always thought he would get a new passive someday, but this skill has endured for a very long time, and I really don't think it's too terribly impactful, to be honest. Sejuani basically has the same thing that's way better.
Yeah, he's going to have almost 10% more health, so this shield is going to be the same thing as it was in the last patch. Malphite still has his R. That's really all you need.
Yeah, very much. All right, next up is Malzahar. Oh, wait, never mind. For some reason, I thought he had a shield or something. I'm done. Say that again?
I said, speaking of guys with Rs.
Okay, next we move on to Maokai, and this one I was a bit more passionate about as I've looked over these changes the last few weeks, partly because he also doesn't see a lot of play, so this is only going to like frustrate his like player base and ability to perform more, and another because I actually feel like his passive is very powerful in the late game when he's getting hit by all manner of crazy shit. It almost makes it so every other auto attack of his passive could be up again when he's in the thick of things. And for him to lose like 4% off that late game passive, it hurts me because I am kind of a top Maokai boy. And yeah, I think this was too much.
Yeah, one of the most fun things, and strangely fun things for me in League, is watching a Maokai just tank the entire team while your team wails away on him late game. And if you've ever wondered how he does that, it's this passive, Sap Magic. It lets him every couple of seconds, if he's being attacked, be able to get back up to 15% of his maximum health in the old patches. Now it's 11, and that's about 30% less healing, and that's really going to hurt him, even with the bonus maximum health from that package. What do you think is going to happen, Chris? Is he just going to suck? Or are we going to see more support Maokai now?
I definitely don't think we're going to see more support as over time they've clamped down on the sapling cheese. It's just all this is going to do is just reduce his playtime and just make him even more unsatisfying to play. And I still think before this patch he was a solid top laner. Why he's not as popular, I can't really say. He functions much like Ornn or some of the other sponges up there that are like fat and have a lot of CC. Why he doesn't see play, I don't know, but I like him. I think he is very good. I think he's always been very good, and this is only going to hurt him, and it's going to hurt him a lot.
Yeah, I hope they give a little bit of the healing back over time, or buff him some other way. Because like I said, it's one of the most fun things in League to see your Maokai just like perfectly tank 3 or 4 enemies. It does take some skill. I've seen some really bad Maokais just get blasted. So this is sad for me because it was actually some of the more skillful healing in the game.
I don't know about skillful. He just has to auto attack.
Most of the healing in the game isn't that skillful. It's usually the other parts of the kits that are.
All right, next up is Master Yi, who did avoid getting his meditate nerfed. It is kind of an afterthought. It's all about the damage reduction.
Very much an afterthought. Yeah, the point of the W on Master Yi, when you see the really good players play him, is just to tap that as a skill shot is coming in.
It's also an auto attack reset.
That's another thing, yeah. It's not the healing. If you're using Master Yi's W for the healing, you're doing it.
All right, next up is the Kaiser, another champion that is near and dear to my heart. I loved him before the rework. They did do a good job. I do miss the old Mordekaiser, but the new one is also cool, I think. He honestly has so much like lane dominance and pressure, and his W is really strong. It's a really good ability. The shield is massive and stuff, and it is a good heal that you can use even when you're out of combat a little bit. I don't think this is going to hurt him too much. So much of his power is tied up into his passive. I don't think this is going to hurt him too bad.
God, I hate Mordekaiser. I know it's kind of a lonely hill, but I don't think that a Juggernaut should have a 1300 range pull. It is, it's something that no other Juggernaut has. Darius has his very short pull.
Yeah, but he also had no CC prior to his rework.
That is true, although usually he, or at least sometimes he builds that Rylai's to slow people down. Yeah, it's just a champion that I've always thought had a little bit of an overloaded or oppressive kit. So I'm always happy to see nerfs to this guy. Sorry, Chrissy.
No, I understand. He is one of those big-time pub stompers, for sure.
He is. But even at like the middle ELOS, gold, platinum, even diamond, I see him doing a lot. Anyway, the shield is kind of in line with all the other shields. I don't think there's much to talk about here. Just wanted to get out how much I hate Mordekaiser.
All right, next up is Morgana. This is one of me and Jason's. Both of us play this champion a ton. This is one of the champions that I've played a lot of recently, and for a very, very long time. I've played this for like 12 years or something. And
you're the one who got me into Morgana, Chrissy.
Yeah, I remember that. And I also remember this champion fondly enough to recall how powerful her passive was like back in the day. If I'm not mistaken, this used to be 30% spell vamp from all damage. And now it's been nerfed like 3 times. And then it got a huge nerf where it only gets spell vamp from champions and large minions and monsters. It's a real bummer because it just feels like a real nice part of her kit when she can heal off her W and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely used to be higher. I wanted to say 25, but you might be right about 30. The big thing they did was they made it not take effect on small monsters and the small minions. Because the amount of healing you could get just from a wave was crazy.
Yeah, that being said, even though this was powerful and it still is like a nice tool in the laning phase, this, her ability to sustain is about as meaningful as like Ahri's. So it's not really hugely impactful. It just sucks. She's still going to be able to do all the great things that she does.
If you build enough AP on Morgana, not only the W, but landing the Q, can really, save you and buy you another half a second fight
Oh
to
yeah,
try and get away.
Yeah, because it's single target damage. Yeah.
Will this 18 to 20, 20 to 18 do much? Probably not that much. Especially the fact that her Black Shield was not touched. I think she's still going to be one of the better supports out there.
Yep, I think she's a really great blind pick down there.
God, I love Morgana in general. Fun champion to play. Maybe not that fun to play against.
All right, next up is another support I like, Nami. Apparently they did some artwork on her, but yeah, this isn't too bad of a nerf. Wasn't really the greatest heal to begin with. She did lose more, I think, off the top end than some other peeps. But I think she'll still be good. I think she used to be a little better a couple years back, but I think she'll still be good.
Yeah, she's losing about 15% of the total amount of the heal. I do think this is a significant nerf to her, honestly. With the one bit of upshot that's in her favor, being that that W is a pretty low cooldown skill, and she might be able to get it off 3 times in fights now rather than 2. So if she can do that, she'll be okay. Hard for me to say whether that's going to happen a lot. I think it's going to be a nerf.
Yeah, this also doesn't really properly represent the potential that she can damage 2 people or heal 2 people with this ability as also.
Right. I guess with this nerf to healing, maybe go a little bit more towards the damage end.
Well, moral of the story, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Okay, who is next? Next up is Nasus. Now, I'm a big-time Nasus player. I always pick him into things. I never blind pick him. I feel like that's how you play Nasus. You leverage his ability to have an easy laning phase, and that's how you play Nasus correctly. But I gotta be honest, as like a Nasus player, Time has been very good to Nasus. I think Old Father Time has rewarded Nasus pretty hardcore. He has seen a lot of good little buffs over the years, and the changes to items have put him in almost to the point where a lot of his bad matchups are he becomes so strong so fast now that he mitigates so much of those terrible early games he used to have. And there's honestly, even his best counters can't really deal with him for very long, I say now. So I actually think this is probably a good change. He is very fucking strong right now.
Yeah, I think this isn't going to really affect him that much, and I would agree it's probably in the right direction. You see a Nasus get to 400 or 500 stacks, 20 minutes, you know your game's over.
Yeah, so you think it's okay?
I think it's okay.
Alright, let's move on to Nautilus, someone who's like almost explicitly only seen support these days, even though when he first came out he was advertised as a jungler. You just never see him anything other than support these days. He is kind of a bit of a cheesy pick, but I've played some Nautilus support. This isn't really going to hurt him too much. It is worth noting that for some reason his shield has like a really long duration, which I always thought that they would nerf someday, but for some reason they didn't. I think he's still going to be okay, because with so many of these champions, it's all about the pick potential, and he didn't really lose any of that, so he's still going to be really good.
So particularly at support, where he can't buy as many large health items as quickly, the 300-ish extra maximum health at the end of the game is going to, I think, help him and it actually increase the shield value more than this nerf is taking it away. Nautilus is fine.
Yeah, you might be right. These stat changes are going to help all of the low econ champions like Nautilus, Blitzcrank, Alistar, stuff like that.
Right, those low econ tanks are going to like this, especially if they have, like Nautilus, maximum health ratios on any of their abilities. This is not the nerf that it looks like.
All right, next up, Nico is another champion that avoided getting her shield nerfed on her ultimate. I don't know why. Her champion, her ultimate is really strong, actually.
I'm going to look real quick and see what the numbers are. I thought that the numbers were very low on the shield on her ult.
Well, I believe it's based on the amount of champions she hits or something.
Yeah. It's 75 at level 1, 125 at level 3, but it is plus 75% AP, and then she gets about half of that per champion as well. That's actually bigger than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't touch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they just forgot. That's what I'm going with for most of these.
Well, I mean, after they kneecapped her hero Jungle Cat in Italy, I mean, leave her alone.
All right, next up is Nidalee, and yeah, anyone that knows me knows how I feel about Nidalee. This champion just really makes me mad. It's like I want to dodge every game I get her, but I don't want to have to dodge every game. I just don't like her playstyle, and this heal has been nerfed like several times, so yeah.
Yeah, why did they do this to the worst champion in the game? Why did they feel the need to do this?
I don't think she's the worst champion in the game, because I think there's other champions that have a much harder time snowballing.
Yeah, I mean, her whole kit is based around hitting that very thin spear, and if she doesn't do that, she can't do anything, and even if she does do that, she has to go in, and if you have CC where you can blow her up, goodbye Jungle Cat in Italy. Yeah, I just genuinely think she's, by a large margin, champ in the game for the last few years.
I can't believe you agree with me.
It happens sometimes, Chrissy. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
I was all ready for you to say how like this champion's at the forefront of the meta. She's way too strong, stuff like that.
Wait till you hear who my second worst champion is.
Okay, let's move on to Nocturne, and he's a very binary champion also, like some of the other ones that got changes on this list. This is going to hurt the AP Nocturnes of the world, but I don't think those represent too many people. I am joking. Yeah, I mean, this thing was pretty much only useful in the jungle for the most part, where he could hit a bunch of stuff on all sides of him simultaneously. Of course, it was good in the 1v1, but he's not really losing much. These numbers were already kind of bad.
So let me actually point out this is an increase in the heal AP ratio here, not a decrease. This is actually, they went from 15% AP to 30 in this new patch.
Oh, that's funny. I actually read it the opposite way. Well, okay, AP Nocturnes of the world rejoice.
So he does have a 100% AP ratio on his tether.
Yeah,
still
I knew that, yeah.
Nocturne like a real thing, is it?
I was joking.
Yeah, but I'm asking for like an honest opinion now. Like this isn't going to be enough to actually make AP Noc viable, is it?
Maybe if this was magic damage on hit, but this is only magic towards or scaling towards his heal when his passive is up. If this was magic damage on hit on all of his autos, maybe. But this, this just kind of sucks.
So yeah, this is just maybe to let him have a little bit more when he has to go like some type of mixed build.
I don't really think he does much of the mixed builds.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't usually see any AP in his build either.
Never.
Congrats AP Nocturnes of the world. I don't.
All right, next we're going to move on to what, in my opinion, is the champion that got nerfed harder than any other champion in this patch. And as someone, I like playing him top. This is definitely going to discourage me a bit, but this is also going to really hurt him in the jungle. And yeah, I just don't understand why this champion got hit so goddamn hard. He had roughly the same kind of strength on Consume since his rework. It has been messed with a little, but this is just fucking crazy. I hate this.
Yeah, this seemed really big to me as well. It's a 40% less scaling on bonus health for Consume. And this is happening at all the different levels. This isn't just happening at the latest level once he's leveled up Consume. So yeah, this is pretty big. I think that the bonus health in most cases is probably going to be the biggest biggest part of his consume, right? Or at least it's going to be around the same as the base heal. So this is a huge nerf. This isn't like 40% off some like obscure, AP ratio or something. This is 10 to 6% bonus health. It's not even max health. This is pretty big. Do you think it's gonna kill him entirely?
No, because he'll still have like the giant amount of true damage that he only deals to monsters and minions, so this isn't really going to hurt him much in the jungle. He's just gonna lose a lot of like umph and heal in fights and stuff. One thing I'd like to notice, this doesn't represent the enhanced heal that he gets from being having less health, but since this got nerfed, that's also getting nerfed. So, yeah, this just feels uncalled for, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if we're going for a slower game, I would cut the heals a little bit. I feel like particularly that 10 to 6 was an overreach, and a long overreach that.
Yep. Okay, next up, this is Bonehead change number 4. They literally just fucking reworked this guy, and honestly, he got a lot of good things. He lost a couple things, but overall, I think he came out stronger for it. And I think the big change here, whereas before his little mini rework, he would basically have to be at 1% HP to get the 100% attack speed. And then when he got his mini rework, he only needed to be at 30%. And now they upped this to like 77% of his missing health instead. So basically that just means it's going to be even harder for him to get the same amount of steroids he was getting before.
It will be a little bit harder, but maybe not as bad as it looks, because again, he has a bigger health pool to draw from, and therefore he can turn this on at a lower threshold of percentage health more easily without dying. Actually, personally, don't think this is going to be that bad for him.
Well, maybe not, but it'll be worse than he was.
A little bit. If you liked him last patch, I think you're still going to go low.
I'm surprised they didn't nerf the amount of lifesteal he got from his passive. That's like 10 to 30%. I'm honestly shocked. I expected to get nerfed, to be honest. Alright, next up is Orianna, and even though I've kind of nitpicked at some of the defensive changes some of the mages have gotten, I feel like Orianna is so much of like kind of a utilitarian champion that I feel like this is actually kind of a big nerf for her, even though she has to max this last for the most part.
Oh, really? Does she follow John Stuart Mill?
What?
Whoosh. She is a utility-based champion, and I think this nerf is fine. Again, it's in line with a lot of the other heal shield change, particularly a lot of the other shield changes. It's about 10% off the top, and she'll continue to be fine.
All right. Next up, skip through some of these. Now we're on to Poppy, and this is another champion I really like top, but I don't get to play them very often because I feel like if I want to play Poppy, there's another similar champion that's kind of better. She's really good, don't get me wrong. And this isn't really going to change much of anything because her passive was already kind of a wildly inconsistent ability. So this really doesn't matter too much. It's just unfortunate, like all the changes basically.
Well, with about 10% more maximum health, the shield amount will continue to be about the same. I think this is really a completely neutral change for Poppy. And I'm glad that they didn't pop her too much because I'm always happy to have Poppy on the team. She's just such a useful champion that can help your team, peel them, set up kills. I don't think she's overpowered or anything, but she's just one of those champs that's a pleasure to have on your team.
Yeah, I really like her.
Yeah, probably the best rework Riot has ever done, right?
Definitely in the top 5. I can't put her quite past Sion if you compare both of them to what they were before.
Yeah, I like the Sion rework too, at least until inting Sion became a thing.
Okay, next up is Pyke. They didn't really mess around with him too much. They just like screwed around with his gray health mechanic, which was I always thought it was kind of crazy how much he can actually get back while he's out of combat in such a short amount of time. I've always said that I'm not a Pike fan, and I don't really think he's a very healthy champion, but this is pretty much probably a buff, actually, when you include the stats he got.
Yeah, because he can't really build any more base health, right? Or he can't build any bonus.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. It's actually better change form than it looks like. Until you pointed that out, I was actually thinking this was a significant nerf for him because that gray health. And by the way, I really do like design in OS. Even though I kind of agree with you about the ult. I think a lot of his kit being based around being very slippery. But if you catch him, you can just blow him the hell up. Um, I think he is an interesting champ, and yeah, being able to get back less of that health, um, probably gonna hurt him more than most of these other healers who can heal themselves, who can heal others. But that base stat package that you pointed out, that's a really good point, and he may actually come out neutral or even a little bit above par, just on the back of that. Yeah, nice point, man.
All right. Next up is Rakan, and I really don't have much to say about these champions. I almost forget this champ. I almost forget this champ is even in the game sometimes because he just doesn't feel very impactful. I feel like he's kind of a jack of all trades, and he's not really super good at any one thing. And one of the things he's totally not good at is definitely his heal and shields. I feel like they're pretty much they just feel utterly tacked on. I really don't think they're very impactful, and this isn't really going to change much in my opinion.
Yeah, Rakan's whole design was really based more on being that engage and to some extent disengage kind of support. Kind of fly around, get himself in there, disengage you, and then get himself out. Um, I think that's probably why they made the heals so pitifully small in the first place. And the change on Gleaming Quill isn't going to do anything. If anything, I think the Battle Dance nerf might be the biggest part of this. But even then, it's only 5 base shields, and unless you're building AP Rakan, which I see too often, this really won't do too much.
One thing I'd like to mention is you can cast Battle Dance twice, so basically these numbers need to be like doubled.
That's so if you're building AP, that's 20% AP off. But if you're not, it's just 10 shielding at all levels. If we were looking at maybe a death of 1,000 cuts here, they've only given him 3 cuts. I don't think this is going to do much.
Nope. Alright, next up is Rel. And I kind of have a similar opinion of this champ that I have Rakan, except I actually think she's better at what she does. Whereas I think Rakan is a bit weaker. I think she's a much better engaged champion, and I think the fact that she actually had sustain in her kit is something that is not totally necessary, but it is just nice. I think she's still going to be very good at what she does, but this isn't going to hurt her too much, I don't think.
So what would the opposite of a low elo pub stomper be? Like somebody who just gets crushed in low elo, but can actually be useful higher up.
Vayne. Vayne, Yasuo, Yone.
Yeah. I was just thinking more like a title for it, because I think Rel is actually one of those champions. Kind of in that Vayne or Rise kind of mold. Yeah, unless you really know what you're doing and are very coordinated with your team, I actually feel like Rel brings very little to your team.
Yeah, I don't think her abilities are... The animations aren't as fast as I would like them to be.
In particular, like when she has to slow down, if you don't have your team ready to follow up with you or protect you, like it just feels so bad. I played Rel a few times, and I think never again. Never unless I have a team of all diamond 5 mans. These are actually not real big nerfs again because they're based off of maximum and missing health, both of which will scale up in the amounts with the stat package. I do think that Rel and Rakan as well, to some extent, just based on the slower pace of the game, may take a little bit of a hit that way. Um, I don't know that Rel is really a champ you want for a really long fight. But I'm not totally sure. What do you think, Chrissy?
I think her initial engage is one of the best in the game, but she is just really slow, and her animations I think are just too slow to be really super competitive. Yeah, she just doesn't have like the range that she needs to like be more threatening, even though she actually does have really great engage.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit worried about her for where the meta goes. If it becomes less of an engaged meta, I think she could be screwed.
Well, all right. Next up is Renata, and if you watched my last video, you would have heard my bashing of this champion. And I already thought her shield was like laughably unimpactful, and somehow they thought it was just too damn good. So they took a little bit off of that. So now it'll just be even more of an afterthought. They brought it basically down to summon airy levels of impact.
They're just giving it the old shield pass the way they're doing all the other champions. I really liked what you said on I think it was the last video about Renata Glask, never just Renata. About her W and her R essentially being almost all the power budget kit, and how once you had these really game-changing abilities in those two, it became very hard to create a Q and an E that would be interesting enough. I think you made some great points there. I just wanted to give you your flowers for that. Um, but as far as the base shield, yep, getting actually you're getting the same base shield at the early levels. You're getting a little less at the late levels. This is a change you can pretty much ignore if you're a Renata Glass player.
Yep, forgettable. All right, next up is Renekton, and I wish Johnny had stayed around just to read this. I think it would have been funny, because this is another bonehead change, because he just got a buff in like the last patch too, and we were all like, he's one of like the worst champions in the late game. He falls off pretty hard, and we were all praising all that shit, only for them to like rip the carpet right from his like stinking corpse with these changes. And it's not as if he really... A lot of the heal he gets is from stuff like Gore Drinker and Spirit Visage. The actual heal he gets from the ability itself isn't really the greatest. So I'm kind of a little upset by these changes. It will be nice for him to get all of these extra bonus stats, because he was actually kind of on the low side of a lot of those figures. I don't even think he was one of the people who had 2k health at 18 before. Maybe it was just 2k or something. But yeah, I'm pretty disappointed by these changes. I think it just really goes to show how short-sighted Riot is when you see stuff like this.
Well, I just got word that Johnny just killed himself. So in lieu of flowers, please send Renekton buffs. Yeah, it's a little sad to see him lose all these little bits and pieces of kit. I'm not a Renekton player. So I'm just going to defer to your expert judgment here.
Well, I play him a fair amount, and he really needs some help in the late game, and this blows.
Yeah, it does seem like he's going to have a little bit less of a late game even than he has now because of all these bonus AD nerfs. Yeah, at least he's better in the late game than he used to be before they reworked the fighter items. I remember there was a time where Renekton was basically, win lane, lose game pretty much every single time. And he's been a little bit less on that curve since. But I do agree with you. And this is sad for the Gators out there.
Yeah, very disappointing. All right, next up is Rengar. And I might be mistaken about this, because this champion has just gotten like 2 million fucking changes over the course of his life, but I'm pretty sure currently he actually has some kind of shield or sustain tool right now, or at least a cleanse, something like that. And I don't think he lost any power from that, from what I'm looking here.
Yeah, did look this one up beforehand because I had that same like nagging thought in my mind that you just expressed. So it's Battle Roar. It does have healing, and in fact, he can even let me just read the Battle Roar real quick. So he stores part of the post mitigation damage he's taken in the last couple seconds as gray health, and then when he uses Battle Roar, he gains health equal to the gray health. So now that the stat packages come in and he's going to have more maximum health, he's going to be able to take more damage, and therefore he actually just got buffed. His heal just got buffed with this patch.
All right. It was a Rangar buff somehow this match.
It's a pretty small buff, but yeah. Rengar mains out there, congratulations. You're the one healer that just got categorically better.
All right. Next up is Riven. And I don't know how everyone regards this champion. I think a lot of people kind of think about her in a similar vein to Aurelia. And this is another champion I feel like just falls off the fucking planet sometimes. And unlike Renekton, she's not even really that great in the laning phase in the modern era, I don't think. So I'm really not on board with these changes, to be honest.
You get a good Riven, they can definitely run a game. Does it happen that often recently? No, probably not. This is again just the standard 10% off the values for the shields. I don't think there's that much to talk about here. That's still a 110% bonus AD ratio on the shield. It's not like they went from 40 to 30. This really is a pretty small tap, I think. What do you think?
I think my point is that I know they were trying to like nerf everything by like 10%, but my bigger point is that they should have had like the critical thinking skills to not do it to some champions.
Do you think they should judge the champions that were unnecessary to nerf the shields at all?
Yeah, especially the ones where their like shield or sustain mechanic is like a complete afterthought, like Ari or Annie. I think that's just. I think it just goes to show how ignorant they are sometimes.
I don't know that I'd go that far. Yeah, they have kind of really risked the balance a lot by doing this very consistent pass for some champs that needed it and some champs that didn't. The one good thing I'll say is if you're going to mess up the balance like this mid-season, where you're not going to mess up like the pros playoffs or the run up to them, is probably the time to do it. So at least there's that. Yeah, to some extent I'm with you. There are definitely some champions that didn't need these shield nerfs. Let's see what happens. I don't know that this is really going to hurt her that much.
I know it's going to happen. Over like the next 6 months, we're going to see like tons and tons and tons of rebalancing fixes to correct some of these egregious ones or minimize some of the less egregious ones. Like, well, yeah, we went too far with that one. Let's give the Gatorback some love. We couldn't have known. Well, fuck.
No one is funnier when they're angry than you, man.
Like, I know we gave them the same fucking buff like last patch, but who knew? Fuck. Yeah, something like that is what I'm.
You gotta separate the good Rivens from the great ones, Chris.
Exactly. It's just really skill expression, that 10%.
I don't have anything more to say about it.
Okay, on to Rumble. This is pretty much the same change Riven just got, except I think Rumble is better like throughout the whole game, just because his ultimate is so can be really decisive in team fights. It's not. I don't really think it's a big deal, honestly.
Check out how big the change is though on the base shield at level 5. And I do understand he's getting a lot of it from AP. But knocking the base shield from 180 to 120, that's pretty significant, I think.
Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind is this does not represent the figures of the enhanced ability when he is overheating or in the danger zone, I believe.
Does he get a okay, so he gets a percentage bigger shield. So actually, yeah, that'll be instead of 180 to 120, it would be, I believe, 270 to 180. So that's an even bigger loss that he's taking there. Again, most of his shield is coming from the AP ratio, where he's only losing 10%. But if you were maxing scrap shield at any point before the end, you're going to be hurt by this.
Oh, right. I'm sorry this video went on a lot longer than I expected, guys. I thought we'd be able to blow through these a lot faster, even though we're being pretty
200
brief.
changes.
All right. Next up is Senna. And honestly, I thought her heel was already pathetic, so I kind of felt like this was unwarranted. You can say what you want about the damage component, but this heel is pretty pathetic. Come on. I don't really think she needed any of these nerfs.
The heal's not huge, but she can heal herself, which is something you wouldn't necessarily expect from a champ that can do so many other things. I know that we disagree about the balance on Senna. You think she's fine. I think she's actually one of the most overpowered champions in the game. Just based on her range, her ability to slow, and the surprising amount of damage she can deal. As far as the actual numbers here, yeah, they hit the bonus AD ratio pretty hard. The rest of it is pretty much untouched. Dawning Shadow, which I believe is her ult, right?
Yeah.
At level 3, they actually didn't take anything away from it, so you can still have that same little impact.
Huzzah.
It's really the bonus AD ratio that that is the biggest hit here, and yeah, I think given how she's going to be able to do in the sustained fights, I think she's still going to be very, very strong. I don't think this hurts her that much, and I know we disagree, but I'm happy to see her take a little bit of a nerf here.
Well, to each his own. We can argue about her ability to deal damage, but her utility spells, I don't think anyone can say her utility skills are too strong.
I don't think right. Those are not the things that by themselves are overpowered, but it's just even more that she can provide in her kit, as opposed to someone like Pyke, who's not going to provide a lot of utility aside from AC.
Okay, next on is Seraphine, and I actually feel like this is a wildly unimpactful change. This ability, her Locket of the Iron Solari-esque effect, basically, was already nerfed several times. The important thing is it kept the base missing health flat amount that's not listed here. If we mouse over that, you can see that it is a flat 5 to 7% of missing health. It was important that she didn't lose that. She only lost some of the scaling in terms of AP, so this is going to retain much of the same power that it had before, and this is still an incredibly powerful ability in the late game when she has the empowered form of it.
Yeah, these are pretty light changes to Seraphine. The heal was not that much to begin with. The shields, which are a little more impactful on Seraphine, they went very light on the changes. They took away 10 base shields. They took away 5% of the AP, so about 12% of the ratio. They honestly went lighter with her than they did on most of the other champions. Particularly most of the other supports. Not quite sure why. Maybe just because they felt like she couldn't afford to be hurt that badly. But I'm happy to see that she didn't take two big changes here.
Me too, because within the last 2 years, I've actually, or whatever, maybe a year, I've actually picked this champion up bot a little bit. Alright, let's move on. I want to talk about Sett, actually, because I've got some things to say about this champion as one of the only characters in the game who didn't get his sustain nerfed. They did not reduce the effectiveness of his passive or his giant shield he gets from his W, which might be like the largest shield in the game, that or like Shen's ultimate. And with these stat changes, this is an indirect buff to his W's damage, which is based off of his total health. So I'm going to quite confidently say that I think Sett, this is going to elevate Sett to like the strongest or one of the strongest champions in the game on this patch. And one of my best friends, this is his favorite champion, and for some crazy ass reason, they just keep buffing Sett, like crazy after crazy after crazy buff. For the last 6 months or whatever, he has gotten a slew of buffs, and there are already tons of silly videos of him doing like 2k true damage with like 80 off-tank builds and stuff, and this is just going to make him even better.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Haymaker shield being untouched, and while that is a pretty short shield, and sometimes your team just doesn't blow it up, in those late game team fights in particular, being able to get a greater shield off of a greater health pool, obviously, or sorry, having taken more damage and therefore built up more grit. This is just a straight up buff to Set. Um,
I
so
think
not
this
only
is the biggest buff in this patch.
you don't think it was the 15% ratio on AP knock?
No, I mean this is. I know you're joking, but the
Yeah.
way this buffs his W, I can't overstate this enough because his W also received a Titanic buff several months ago, and that this is my. I've watched my friend learn and pick this champion up over like the last 2 or 3 years, and I've watched him just leverage some of these buffs to just crazy effect, and this is just going to put him in even more crazy territory. And I honestly think this is finally going to get him a big nerf.
Yeah, I think Set's already pretty good and is going to be even better after this, which I agree. Can we go back to Samira real quickly? I know she has no changes, but I feel like she's very reliant on lifesteal to make those like those insane 1v3 outplays really at any point in the game.
Well, yeah, they have nerfed the effectiveness of lifesteal while she's in her ultimate a couple times before.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about Samira real quickly. Is the era of Samira outplays over now? Or is this not going to be a big deal for her?
She's still gonna. Her ultimate's still gonna be strong. It's just not gonna heal as much because the items also got a hit with lifesteal nerfs too later on in this patch. And
Right.
no, I think she's still gonna be a terror, primarily because she just has like the fastest follow up in the game, even like faster than like Lucian and stuff like that. Her ability to follow up is just such that she's still gonna be terrifying in the laning phase.
Yeah, she's right up there with Kai in that respect. So yeah, glad to hear it. I was worried that maybe just the nurse to lifesteal would push her out of relevance.
Well, she does get a lot of heals from that, but it also does a shitload of damage. Okay, let's move back down to the pride of Chrissy.
Good boy.
It is Shen. And of course, I was absolutely upset and fucking pissed at this, but I gotta be honest, he didn't get as hard as some of the other poor bastards on this patch, that's for sure. So I'm not too upset. One thing, I'm happy that he did get the stat bonus like everyone else, because he didn't even have 2,000 health at 18 for some dumbass reason. There's plenty of other champions similar to him who had 2,200 health at 18. He had like 1995 or something, or 2005, something really low like that. So this is nice, and that ratio, his increased health is going to go into his ultimate ratio. So, well, actually, no, it won't, because that's not bonus. Whatever. It's not so bad, I guess.
Yeah, this might actually be a little bit worse than it looks because his ratios are bonus health, and yeah, without having the increased health, unlike a lot of these other tanks, he's been hit by this more than pretty much all the other tanks in the game will be hit by this. Like you said, the increase to his base health is nice, but with so much of his kit based around Stand United, and with a pretty big hit at level 3 to Stand United, it's 50 base plus a lot based on the bonus health. I feel like this is gonna hurt him. I'm glad that it doesn't sound like you think it's gonna absolutely slaughter Shen's chances to play the game.
Though, to be perfectly honest, I'm still in the throes of nerding out that they gave his ultimate a bonus health ratio. It didn't have that for like 10, 12 years, and that just came out of the blue, and that's only the minimum health ratio. You mouse over the ability right here, we'll see that it actually tops out at 25% of his bonus health. I mean, that's just fucking crazy. So I can't get too mad since he didn't have that for so long, and it's still really strong.
Good to hear that the goodwill for that bonus health ratio is still standing strong with you after you're basically tearing them a new one on everything else this patch.
I'm a little salty over his passive change because that is a big part of his like trading potential to constantly throw that up and mitigate poke and stuff. But
Yes.
I'll get over it.
Yeah, if that were maximum health, it wouldn't be such a big deal. At bonus health, it's a real hit to him.
All right, next up, I won't really talk about this Shyvana change. I hope it makes people actually build her more off tank than AP. I'm one of those people. I'm pretty sick of the AP Shyvanas, to be honest.
There are two types of players in League: the ones who are sick of AP Shyvanas and the AP Shyvanas.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's just a low effort. That's what it's just those kind of things are just low effort champs or low effort builds. People are
You've never
attracted to that.
skill shot from long range, and you've 100 to 10 to someone.
The hitbox is just like criminally wrong on that skill for one.
I do know that Riot does want to rework Shyvana, and I
Yeah.
hope they're aiming at.
Yeah, her and Nocturne are going to get reworked within the next like 2 years. And I'm sure they'll do a good job. I'm really curious what they'll come up with Nocturne because I think he has enough of like a bizarre kind of theme for what he is, whatever kind of crazy entity. I think they could do a good job with whatever they come up with.
Yeah, I mean thematically, like they did a good job with like Fiddlesticks on the rework.
Well, they didn't really rework him. He did get a nice look though. I will say that he looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking more like the theme, the lore, and the visual effects. In Shyvana's case, they've been talking about they want to like really shunter gameplay into the I've become a big dragon kind of fantasy.
I would like
And
that.
yeah, that does sound like I've become a big dragon and I'm gonna like fly at you and take you down is a lot better than I'm gonna shoot an E at you from 1300.
I always hated how like scrawny and she looked when she was a dragon. She looks like a dragon that's been like fucking starved for like 200 years. I always wanted her to be like more cool and beefy and intimidating when she was a dragon, and I want her to return to like her on-hit tank builds and stuff. You know?
Yeah, I think the on-hit Shyvanas are actually probably the most fun to play with and against.
Yeah, it's like you barely ever see one that's not going AP, but when you see one on the enemy tank or the enemy team that's going tank and a little bit of AD or a little bit of on-hit, they're still super good. It's still super good, and it's just I hate that people have gotten away with that because they keep buffing her AP builds for some dumbass reason.
I sadly completely agree with you.
All right, let's move on to Scion here, one of my boys in the top lane. Like we've said a million times, they all got the bonuses to health, so since this is a nerf to his max health, it's going to be mitigated slightly. But I am very happy that he got the health pack too, because since he has the W mechanic where he infinitely stacks health from last hitting things, they thought that was a good rationalization for making him only have an embarrassing 1600 or so HP at 18, and now he's gonna have an embarrassing 1900 or ish. But yeah, I don't really. He's still really good. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers now. So it's 4 bonus health when he kills an enemy, and 15 for takedowns and large enemies. So especially, like Scion is a split pusher. He can very reasonably get 200-300 minions, even in a non-pro game. So that's got to be at least 1,000 bonus health that he's getting, in addition to that quote-unquote embarrassing 1900. He's building all the health items, and I think you often usually see him max out like in the 5,000s, right? In like a 45, 50-minute game.
Yeah, that's about right.
So, as much as that small health pool might be embarrassing, I mean, guy has 5,000 health. Does he really need more? You're saying yes.
I just don't like that the class of champion it is that all of his peers have way better stats than he did, even if he had the W mechanic.
All right. I guess we're gonna agree to disagree on that, but I do see what you're saying about the class. Would if you rather he had like more base health and then Soul Furnace did a little bit less?
No, I just think he should have been a 21 or 2200 this whole time. He doesn't have to be like a 2400 like Alistair or Nunu, or a crazy 2500 like Galio or Silas, who are definitely giga strong after this pack of health bonuses, because they had the highest health in the game at 18.
Yeah, I actually think it'll help them less than it'll help the champs with lower maximum health, who were easier to blow up. But in any case, Soul Furnace, it's a maximum health ratio. They're cutting a little bit off of the percentage. It's going to be about break even.
Okay, coming towards the end here. Next up is Skarner, and this is another one of those afterthought abilities, I think. It's really nice. He's got the health thing like everyone else, so it's not going to be too bad. He's basically going to be pretty neutral, right?
It's maximum health. Yeah, this is completely break even. It's not even worth talking about unless Captain Force.
Alright, next up is Sona, and this was one of my most played champions for like my first several years I was playing this game, but I find it in the last 5 years increasingly difficult to ever play her again, as they've kept releasing champions that do everything she does but better, and simultaneously keep finding a rationalization behind constantly nerfing her over and over, and now we're at the point where her heal is literally half an auto attack. I mean, it's just, she's just been nerfed so many times, and I don't care what gay things people have her doing in the pro seed or whatever. She is just in a real bad spot right now, in my opinion.
Sona has actually been my highest win rate champion for the last 2 seasons. Among any champions that I play with any regularity. She's really, really good if you have a strong front line and the fights are going to move slowly. Because she can spam her skills every 2 to 2.5 seconds once you've built enough ability haste. And those skills, particularly the W, will affect basically your entire team. When you're in these late game team fights, I always say she's weak early. She is the greatest late game team fighter in League of Legends, and I honestly do believe that. They have nerfed her a lot.
I definitely don't agree with that.
And the fact that Sona is best played with heavy AP ratios. Like, some people try to build support items. AP is her support stat.
Yep, that's what I would do.
Makes that knockdown from 20% to 15% on the heal really significant. And the 30 to 25 on the shield is pretty significant too. Because that's on every single one of your allies. That's devastating. And given that she's using that several times in a fight, I mean, you can multiply that by 3 allies by 5 or 6 skill usages, and you're actually talking a reduction of possibly over 100% AP in total value from the fight. So this is devastating. Now, the one thing is, Sona does play better in those slower metas than the faster ones. So I think there's at least a chance that she remains good just by virtue of where the meta shifts. And maybe that's what they were thinking when they kneecapped her here. I'm going to give her a try, and I hope that she continues to be good. But I am worried just because these seeming 5% AP ratios multiply upon themselves so many different times that this is actually a huge hit.
Well, I actually thought she'd get reworked by now, to be honest.
You thought they'd give her another rework after the Accelerando stacks?
That was like, to call that a rework is so silly. She basically got anything out of that, and it was basically all it did was compensate for her old ultimate that had the same damn passive that she didn't even have to build up.
It definitely the way that she plays.
That was such a well, I don't know. They don't know what they're doing sometimes. All right, let's move on to Soraka. This is another one of my favorite champions from the olden times who's seen a million changes over the years. And I'm not really sure where she's going to land, but wherever it is, I think it's going to be a better place than Sona is. That's my opinion, at least. And I think she was so... I think her base numbers were so important because she builds a lot of these heal and shield power items that this is actually a pretty big nerf regardless of the changes to like Grievous wounds and stuff. Yeah, seeing this, or seeing her ultimate get nerfed again and again and again is kind of heartbreaking. What do you think?
Soraka, I think, was my my first real main, so I've got a special place in my heart for her. She's always also kind of the ultimate good guy in League. So I'm always a Soraka fan. I like to see Soraka do well, and I'm afraid she's not going to after these changes at all. Yeah, the base heal on Astral Infusion knocks from 220 to 170 when maxed. Usually the first skill you're going to max with Soraka. And the AP ratio also knocked down from 65 to 50. That's pretty devastating. That's about a 30% total loss of value. 25 to 30. Not only that, but remember that the W has a 10% max health cost if you don't hit your star cost first. So,
Yeah.
like these extra health points that everybody's getting, that's not going to help her because she's spending all of it on the W.
The only
She
upside from this is the fact that her W is still free when her thing's maxed out. So at least if she gets like a few items, she still will have these periods where she can be really powerful because of how low the cooldown her W is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Warmog Soraka, it's not quite as bad. But if you're building her without Warmogs, and I think both builds are feasible, this is really troubling. The one good thing in her favor is that generally, when you're a Soraka, the other team is building groups, and you're not going to have to deal with that as badly on the W. But even with 10% less Grievous, and the fact that um, that your heals will be um, more of your heal will go through. The fact that you're getting 25% less heal on your W is just, I mean, that sunders her whole kit. I really think that's going to be a huge, huge. In addition, Wish, which they didn't touch that much, as you see, it's 25 points at level 3, and a 5% AP ratio. Wish already cleared Grievous wounds, so that's not even being helped by the Grievous wounds changes. Overall, they have kneecapped Soraka here. I don't think she's going to be relevant in patches, and it breaks my heart.
Yep, I hear you. All right, next up is Swain, and we got another goofball change, seeing as how he literally just got his little mini rework. And for about one patch there, I actually thought his new ultimate was going to be strong, and then this comes down that completely just negates the exact same buff that he just got, and now I don't actually think he's better off than he was before, which completely undercuts the whole point of this rework that he got. And then nerfing the heal he gets on takedowns and the soul fragments and all that, I mean, it's just, I feel like it really is just walked back exactly what they intended to do when he got the MIDI rework like a couple weeks back.
Do you think that the takedowns restoring your demonic energy during combat is going to help him at all, or do you think that's just a nothing burger?
I think that is a complete nothing burger since he can already keep it on permanently as long as he's already draining someone. So having it stay on more so when he kills someone, I feel like it's not really meaningful.
I can see that. I don't really have a lot to add here. Just the last two patches, just due to some life circumstances, I haven't been able to play as much League as usual. And the Swain gets banned in a lot of games. So I've actually only seen him in action once. But how are you feeling about the way he plays in general?
Well, I'll be honest, I think I don't really understand why they reworked him to begin with. I think the state he was in like 3 weeks ago before his mini rework, I think he was actually in a pretty good spot. Now, when they did rework him, there was a couple things I liked, but for the most part, I wasn't very satisfied, even though you'd think like the fact that his ultimate doesn't time out now, you think it's pretty hard to like not get behind that, right? Well, he did lose a shitload of other things to get that ability, and
Right.
I feel like his ultimate is like not even as strong as like Sunfire Cape now. It's like they really kind of walked back what they did a couple weeks back, and I'm not very happy because Swain's one of my boys.
Yeah, I've generally liked every form of Swain over the years. I was a little surprised when they chose to rework him over champs that need it more, like Tryndamere. Um, but most of the stuff I've heard on the street has been like people have generally liked the direction of the Swain rework. I just haven't seen it, so I was curious what you thought.
Well, I'll probably just be double downing even more to my like tanky Swain builds. I think you can if you still build him with a ton of AP, I think he'll still be good, but I like building him tanky because it's just fun and they gave more incentive to that when they reworked him.
All right, want to move on to Silas?
Yeah, this one I feel like is a pretty dumb change to be honest. This his heal has already been nerfed like I swear to God, it's got to be like 8 fucking times or something. they've nerfed this a million times, and I feel like if they were going to do this change, they needed to reduce the cooldown on this ability to like 3 or 4 seconds, because this used to be a super powerful heal. It had like 100% AP ratio when he was low and stuff. It was absolutely stank nasty. And while he did get that awesome buff to his ultimate in the last patch or two that I went over, this is like his bread and butter, like ability to duel people. And the cooldown, it needs to go down to compensate for this. I'd be cool with this nerf. That cooldown is way too fucking high for how weak this has become.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in the old days, but even I think to some extent now, Salas is one of those champs where you take a trade against him and then you regret it a few seconds later when you've lost 90% of your health and he has more than he started out with. Really, if he can hit the abduct and the abscond. So I think that especially making the battles and the combat a little bit longer, a little bit less bursty, might help him a little bit. And maybe they did need to actually nerf the heal even more. I know you missed the 100% AP ratios.
I wasn't actually playing him during that period. It was shortly after that I started playing him top. But it was still good then. I'll be honest, I'd be cool with this change if they gave him like half a strong heal if he W'd minions or monsters. Then I wouldn't feel so butthurt about this, because that would give him some of his laning phase back. But this is just, it's too much. This ability has been nerfed too many goddamn times.
It has. I think maybe they keep wanting to add power into his ult and take it away from the rest of his kit.
There's definitely some logic to that. That sounds like a lot of fun, and that does sound fun. But he needs this ability to be somewhat
You just think that 35 is just too low for the AP ratio?
It's really 70 when he's low, but yes, right. It's too low. The base numbers and the ratio. It's mainly the cooldown. It's the cooldown I have the big problem with.
Well, they're not going to change that on this pass. But yeah, if he struggles, that might be a good place to buff Kingslayer. Improve the cooldown a little.
Okie dokie. Let's see who's next. Is
Rug.
One of my favorites from the last, since he was released. I love Tahm Kench, even though they keep changing him around a lot. I am pretty butthurt about how they pretty much forced him out of bot lane, which is, it was a real head scratcher. I'm not mad that they kind of shifted his old ultimate into like his W. I just wish that his Devour was on a dramatically lower cooldown, even if it was way weaker, because I think he should still retain the ability to like shut down like picks and aggression, and they basically made his ultimate a Kayle ult, so it's got a super much higher cooldown, and I just don't like how he was pushed out of support, and now he's just a cheese lord in the top lane now, you know? It's just, I love him. I love Tahm Kench, but I feel like these changes pushed him out of support too much.
He definitely is a cheese lord in the top lane. And he's super, super strong at the beginning of the game. Definitely scales a little bit poorly. But if Johnny were here, he would tell you that and rest his soul, those were necked and but if Johnny were still here, he would tell you that the Tahm Kench Devour was making pro play into a complete bore. Casters hated it. The pro players themselves hated having to use it because it was so overpowered there.
I mean, it's honestly no different than Morgana's Black Shield if you think about it.
Well, it saved people that were already caught. Morgana's Black Shield at least has to be used preemptively.
Yeah, that's true.
Tahm Kench, like somebody could Zanya's and then Tahm Kench could devour them, and it stopped so many kills. It made pro play into a bore, and I think that was the entire reason that they made that swaparoo. I thought it was a change. Now, as far as the changes here, this is about a 15% takedown on its healing, and 20 to 30% less gray health being built up at the late levels.
Yeah, my opinion on this is his entire life cycle, he never had access to this consistent healing on his Q. So I feel as long as he just keeps the heal component, even if it gets nerfed a few times, he's still way better off, like, PvP-wise than he was for years on end. And this change to his thick skin, I mean, it's just apples and oranges. I think he'll be just fine still. And this change to how he got all the tank and health boost like everyone else, this is just going to, like, make him more obnoxious, honestly.
Yeah, I did feel like the thick skin nerf was actually significant. Even though he maxes E last most of the time. 65 to 50 is a pretty big change, and he's not going to be able to get quite those fat shield in the late game. I thought it was actually a pretty big nerf to him. Not monumental, not like Soraka sized, but I do think he got hurt here.
Yep. All right.
All
Next
right,
up is
I got to step out for just a minute, so I'm going to ask you to just fill the time. I don't really have anything to say about Tarek, so if you want to take it away with that.
oh, all right, okay. Next up here is Talon, and he didn't have a heal for like his entire life cycle since he was released ages ago. So kind of similar to Annie and Ari and Lysandra, some of the others we've gone over. This isn't really going to change much. I got to be honest. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Tarek. I really wish Johnny was here to see this one. This is just, I kind of feel bad about this. It's like this champion is so desperately in need of some love and affection from Riot. I don't know why they continue to like hurt this guy so much. The least they could do is revert some of the nerfs that he got upon his rework. I feel like that would be a really good step. The fact that he lost his sustain on this patch is just like pure silliness. He was already insanely weak with these figures. So that's my take on that one. Almost done. And our next one will be Thresh. And if you watched my last two videos, you'll know that I completely predicted that when he got that bonus to like his soul synergy, that he would have to pay a price. And of course, they did not have the wherewithal to not nerf his Dark Passage after that, thus mitigating the buff he got last patch a fair amount. So that really sucks. Although, one thing I would like to point out is the changes to his stats is actually definitive and empirical proof that there is at least one synapse firing over there at the Riot Balance team, as Thresh is a champion that does not gain armor per level, and they actually did not give him the armor growth that everyone else received. So, good to know. Alright, next up is Trundle. And I gotta be honest, this is one of my favorite champions at the moment. He's my go-to blind pick top. And, yeah, while they didn't touch his ultimate or his W, thank God, this is really going to hurt him. I feel like his passive just really helps him get through the laning phase really well. And this is a huge hit to jungle Trundle, too, as those have way more hit points than, like, minions do, so he gets way more health from jungle camps than minion waves and stuff. Overall, just a really, really sad nerf. I gotta be honest, I'm just really upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. The one nice thing is that the targets will have more maximum health now. But he's usually using it against very high health, high maximum health targets that aren't really gonna have a huge change from that 300 bonus health. And this is definitely a nerf, despite it being a max health scaling ability.
Yeah, this one really, really upsets me. I play a shitload of Trundle top, and that passive, man, it's awesome. Okay, let's move on to Tryndamere. I gotta be honest, I don't care for Tryndamere, and I don't give a shit if he loses some heal on his Q. It's not even that great of a heal, to be perfectly honest, so tough luck for the Tryndameres of the world.
Yeah, tough for you, Tryndamere. The blood loss can help him a little bit in lane, but come mid game and late game, he doesn't care about this. The way he survives is by pressing R and then right clicking you for 5 seconds, killing you before you can before his R runs out.
Yeah, this champ's scum, and the people that play him are scum too.
He makes Master Yi players look classy.
Yeah, I don't know which one is worse, honestly.
Demir.
All right. Twisted Fate got a third new look, it looks like. All right, next up is Udyr. Well, I gotta be honest, this is a pretty unimpactful change since his shield doesn't scale with any stat that he can actually build. Doesn't have a health scaling or scales with AP, and he doesn't want to build that. It doesn't scale with AD, so this is pretty unimpactful to be honest. What's not unimpactful is his heal that he got when he was lower. This seems really small, but this actually is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I don't think that the change from 2.5 to 5 becoming 2 to 4 is that big of a deal because of the max health ratio. But more interestingly, I would like to know your thoughts on how you think Udyr will do in a slower meta.
Yeah, probably won't have to think about it too much since his rework is over the next horizon.
Good point. Well,
I definitely look forward to see what they come up with. I imagine he'll still be like auto attack dependent, but I hope he is a little more interesting. That's for sure.
think he's gonna have a real ult.
No, I don't think he will. I think he'll still have.
It's 4 stances.
Yeah, I think he'll still have a bunch of like things he switches between. I don't think he'll have an ultimate. What I am hoping is he gets a way more impactful passive to make up for that.
That'll be interesting to see.
Since his current passive is like the most forgettable nonsense from 12 years ago.
Yeah, they definitely do a better job of the passives in Modern League of Legends than the old kit designs.
I remember Evelyn's old passive was she used to take half damage from minions. That was it. I think it was actually called like Determined Killer or something like that.
That was her passive before they gave her the health regen and invisibility at 6.
This was like 3 passives ago. She's
Okay,
been
okay.
reworked twice. This is her 3rd iteration right now.
Got it.
Yeah, Scion used to have a really stupid one that was called like Feel No Pain. He would take
Yeah.
like 20% reduced damage if he took like 50 damage or something like that. So there were some shitty ones back then.
Just have a lot of like stats and percentages. I remember like Soraka's was just like she and her nearby allies have 16 extra magic resist.
Yep, Consecration. Yep.
Consecration, sir. Very good.
Okay, next up is Urgot. And this is going to be a lot like our Lysandra Ari talk and stuff, where this is like a luxury, but it's such a non-core part of his kit that I think he's going to be perfectly fine with losing some of his shield.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be more than like Malphite's or Lyssandra's, but it's not a big deal. Urgot's going to play the same way.
Yep.
And he is one of those champs that will do well in the longer fights, so he may actually be a little bit stronger on this patch.
Yep. All right. Getting to the very end here. Next up is Vex. And I gotta be honest, I don't have much to say about this champion other than this is like, I don't know. I think self shields are kind of important for like the mages that do have them, so I gotta be honest, I'm not really a fan of her like losing some strength on this, but it's pretty minuscule, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a light hit, and since Vex tends to build a lot of AP, that 80% or now 75% shield ratio gives you a really, really big shield, especially since I think most Vexes max W second. So those shields can be much, much bigger than a lot of the other mages that have to play at close range to do all their damage. And I'm not sad to see her lose this. I like Vex as a champion. She's still gonna have very, very fat shields. This is gonna affect her too much, and I think they went intentionally light because she's one of those few mages that needs to dive in to do her whole combo.
Yep. Alright, next up is Vi, and this is going to break my friend's Matt's heart, because this is like one of his favorite champions. And he likes running Revitalize with Blast Shield when he plays Vi, and it's going to be heartbroken to see this, but it's not really the biggest deal. It just helps her kind of at the beginning of fights and trade and stuff like that. but
I mean,
it's
the
gonna
max
hurt.
this is only like a very, very small fraction of a percent of a very small fraction of 1% of her max health that she's actually losing from the shield. Uh,
Yeah, but if she got the bonus stats and didn't get Blast Shield nerf, it would have been a big buff.
well, that would have been really nice, two champions that got away with that on this patch.
It's almost like they could have not tried to give every champion a nerf in some cases.
I mean, I think she would have been like a they had not nerfed this. 15% of new maximum health. Like Vi's quite useful right now.
I think she's pretty balanced.
Yeah. I think they would have actually overpowered her if they didn't reduce this shield ratio, personally.
All right, next up is Viego, and this is a nerf to the heal he gets when he consumes someone that he got a takedown on, and a nerf to the second auto attack he makes when he tags someone with his Q or his W. And yeah, this is probably the thing with the extra lifesteal he gets when he hits someone a second time probably isn't the biggest deal, but the percent of stats and heal he gets when he consumes someone's soul or whatever, that is a nice little chunk, and this is definitely a big nerf to that, even though it looks pretty damn small. There's a lot of other numbers that go into this too.
Yes, I completely agree. This is a lot less reset city for Viego. He's one of those champions, particularly come late game, like Aatrox, like Silas to some extent, that relies on being able to survive a very long time and do a lot of this lifesteal or otherwise healing from his abilities to really make a huge impact in fights and frustrate the other team. So combined with the lower lifesteal in the game, particularly this reduction of the 3% per 100 bonus AD ratio when he collects a soul, being reduced 2.5% per 100 bonus AD. That can be the difference between like 18% of the champion's maximum health versus 15%. And that's a pretty big difference. That's about 120, 150 health on some champions. This is going to hurt him a lot, and I think Viego is definitely going to be one of the top 10 most nerfed by this patch.
It's going to hurt him, but I don't think he'll make that top 10 list because he's he's way more item dependent, I think, than he is skill dependent, in my opinion. And as long as he has that absurd execute on his ultimate, I don't think he's going to be hurting too damn bad.
I just think it's going to be easier to pop him before he can use it multiple times.
Well, he's actually untargetable when he's consuming somebody.
Right, but isn't there a cooldown before you can do another consume?
No, I don't think there is actually.
Oh, okay.
You just have to shake your last one by ulting, and then you can immediately get a new one.
I see. I thought there was a short cooldown on that. So, yeah, maybe it won't be as bad as I was thinking it would be. But he definitely won't be quite as much of that healing terror in some of those very chaotic late game team fights.
Yep. Okay, next up is Victor, and I gotta be honest, this one is going to be my poster child of the patch for a meaningless nerf to an afterthought of a mechanic, because his shield was the shield he got from this was so weak. The fact they thought they had to touch it is just stupid. This is weaker than Sona's heal, it feels like, almost.
You heard it here first, folks. The most useless change of the patch. I mean, I'm fine with this. I don't really care about it. It's right in line with some of those others. We've had this discussion 4 or 5 times, I think, throughout this patch. And I totally see what you're saying. And I agree that it's pretty meaningless. I'm okay with them doing it, but I also agree with you that it feels a little unnecessary.
Well, thank you for that omission. I know that was tough. Alright, next up, another one of my boys. Now, first thing I want to say is, when this was on the PvE, I was actually pretty scared. There were a couple other nerfs that Vladimir had on the PvE that did not make it to the final cut, thank God. Now, he still did get nerfed on a number of
things here, but all in all, I think he made it out pretty unscathed compared to the people that got real dicked over.
Yeah, I mean, you're the Vladimir master here. I'm certainly not. Um, I did feel like the changes will add up just based on the number of times that he wants to use these skills during fights. But they went somewhat light on him as far as the numbers go. I'm My instinct was that it was going to hurt him more than you seem to think it will. But again, I defer to the Vlad master.
This could have been a lot worse. At one point on the PvE, there was a huge nerf to the base number on his empowered heal that did not make the final cut. This,
Oh, wow.
the Hemoplague, I believe, it was down to 30% one of the days I saw it, and they quickly jumped it up to 40. Is someone
Goodness.
someone put one and one together, and they also removed the entire heal component of his Sanguine Pool, which isn't much, but it just gone would have kind of sucked.
So just to be clear, they brought that back, and his Sanguine Pool will still heal on patch 12 now.
Yes, it'll still heal.
Yeah. Vladimir's just a champ that really relies on those self heals, and so I think just he'll be hurt by this patch in general. But my goodness, had they taken away Hemoplague to 30% and gotten rid of the pool healing, yikes! I'm glad they had the cool heads to bring that back.
Good news is he didn't lose any damage, so he is still a terror in the late game, so it's all good, I guess. Okay, next up is someone who didn't have as lucky of a time as Vladimir. Got his whole fucking kit nerfed, and if he still had his old passive, they would have fucked that up too. Where do I start here? He got hit like everywhere under the sun here. I'm actually kind of surprised they touched his ultimate, since it's kind of like Lulu or Nasus. Nasus and Renekton didn't get their ultimates touched, neither did Shyvana or Swain, in the same regard of just gaining health during your ultimate, so I don't know why Volibear lost health on his ultimate.
Yeah, and for them to take away so much, because I think they only took away a little bit from Lulu's, right?
Yeah, but all the champions who gained health on a transform didn't even get changed. Except
Right.
Volibear.
This is one of the rare instances where they got rid of the bonus health. And again, bonus health is not something that is affected by Grievous Wound. So it's not like he can even be compensated by that. I think that the Stormbringer probably was the biggest nerf that's being made to Volibear here.
No, it's definitely the Frenzied Maw. When you get enough CDR, this can actually get pretty gimmicky, and when he's healing for that much every time, that was definitely the biggest nerf, in my opinion, on this patch for him.
The actual net effect after the health package is going to be about 1.5% of his missing health at level 5. So what does his maximum health usually come to late game? About 3,500?
Honestly, he's really flexible. You can build him AD heavy, and you can build him as a fat slob.
Yeah, I've even seen him with the on-hit AP.
Oh god, I'm so sick. I'm almost as sick of that as AP Shyvana, but thankfully you don't see it very much.
Right. Yeah, so I guess even with 3,500 health, Frenzied Maw would be about 50 health being lost from this.
I just think that that ability is so important to his fighting potential that any nerf to it at all is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so between that and Stormbringer, who's going to be losing?
Okie dokie. One of our last ones is Warwick, and I really don't like this change at all. I feel like this was too core to his kit. Even before his rework, his Q that was kind of the same was really important, that he had this big little chunk heal every now and then. And I gotta be honest, this is really gonna hurt him. And he's really lucky they didn't touch his passive or his ultimate, because technically they could have if they wanted to clamp down on his healing.
Well, so yeah, I think his ultimate is basically just triggering his passive 3 times, is why he gets so much healing from it.
Yeah, but they could have reduced on-hit effectiveness or something on it.
They could have if they really wanted to. So this is a 17% hit to his easiest source of healing in Q, but I really think it is worth really making the point that Eternal Hunger is passive. The heal there is untouched, meaning that he can still get some crazy healing when he's very low on health. I believe the amount on that scales to 250% when he's below a quarter of his health.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
good, but I feel like this was good too.
Sure, it was. And I always enjoy having a Warwick. Um, but I feel, and I'm not a Warwick player myself, I feel like a majority of his healing is going to come, particularly in like the important fights, from his passive. And not touching that was maybe a mercy that was needed for this very healing reliant champ.
Well, one thing to point out, his passive only heals him if he's at least half dead. He can always heal off of his Q.
Let me check that. I think it heals him more if he's half dead.
Yeah,
But
no, it heals him when he's half dead, and then
right,
heals him a lot when he's like 3/4 dead.
you're right. Most of like the really great plays I see by Warwicks are ones that come out when he was low on health, um, rather than kind of just like the general getting health back from the Q. And yeah, 90 to 75% is a big loss. I just still think that he probably will be relevant. Whereas someone like Volibear, even someone like Aatrox that's very healer reliant, I work.
Yep.
Okay, next up is Wukong. And if I'm not mistaken, he also dodged the Nerf Hammer too. I believe his passive gave him like health regen per stack. Every time he was like auto attacked or in combat with someone, he got more armor and health regen.
Right.
Okay, and then we're gonna scoot down all the way to Xin Zhao, who did not have a good time with this. This is kind of similar to Aurelia, the kind of a big nerf that she got to her sustain, and in a similar vein to Aurelia, I feel like this is really gonna hurt Xin Zhao, especially like in the jungle.
Yeah, they didn't hurt his base heals too much. But the reduction from 10% to 7% AD will hurt his late game. Dueling and fighting a lot.
Yep, that sucks.
Yeah, when you say that you think it's gonna hurt his jungle game, do you think it's just gonna hurt his like his jungle role, or do you think it'll actually hurt his clear?
Well, any nerf to sustain is going to make you lower and lower and lower when it's time to gank, so it's going to hurt his jungle.
So you think that this is enough of a nerf to his early sustain, just a few points to actually give him a harder time in the jungle?
No, I think his early game, jungle-wise, is going to be fine. It's going to be like the mid and late game where he's not going to be as good of a fighter, you know?
Fall off more for sure.
Okay, next up is Yasuo, and my opinion of this ability is that it was always kind of a luxury. The fact that he is a resourceless champion like Yone also, and got this kind of free shield just from moseying about, I always thought of this as like kind of a luxurious ability that he has. And I'm not really too heartbroken that it got nerfed a little bit. He is like someone who tends to build like a couple off tank items like Yone in the late game, so I really don't think this is going to phase him too hard. His like level 1 and level 2 cheeses that you'll see every Yasuo and Yone under the sun try to jump you at level 1 or 2. That'll probably take a small hit, I imagine, because they always want to jump you when they get the dash, so...
They're always looking to get up in your grill.
The good ones will take the dash at level 1 even.
I've seen it, yeah. The shield bow, I think, actually might even be a bigger nerf to Yasuo than Sway of the Wanderer.
Yep.
I've always thought he should use his passive at his 10 death power spike, personally.
Think so.
But yeah, this is not a huge deal by itself. I think combined with the shield bow, he will be significantly less tanky when he goes in sometimes. But I'm not gonna cry for seeing this happen to Yasuo.
Yep. He already snowballs pretty hard.
Exactly.
Alright, and then on to Yone. Kind of a similar story, except I feel a little worse about this, because this is actually kind of like a real ability that also does damage. I'm not as really as uncaring towards Yone. I think Yone is kind of a healthier champion than Yasuo. A little bit. So, I don't really like this as much, but it's a really small nerf, so whatever.
Yeah, do you just like that he has to go back to his sword after he uses it?
I just feel like he's a little less one-dimensional than Yasuo is. I feel like Yon is what Yasuo should have been when he was released.
That's an interesting take. I like it.
It's really a
Yeah,
sign of the times that they were both released in.
yeah. I don't have a lot to say here. I think this is a pretty light touch to his shield. Um, and again, if you're going to be consistently taking 10% off, they actually took less than 10%.
Oh, all right. Next up is Yorick, and I think this actually is going to be a bit of a serious nerf for Yorick. Now, this only shows the normal amount. He heals for more when he's low or something like that. And as someone who is kind of more about the mid to late game, this is going to kind of hurt him because this heal doesn't actually scale with anything, which is something I always found kind of bizarre. I always thought he should have some kind of scaling mechanic with his ghouls or something like that, but it never came to be. This is all just from levels. He doesn't actually gain any sustain from points or ranks or anything like that.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the skills that scale based on champion level rather than your level in that skill. I think it just makes for much less interesting decisions for skill orders on champs. And quite frankly, I don't know why they do it. I think they basically want to allow the skill to scale and still allow you to lock that in as a last max skill.
I think they do it because they don't want it to be as they want it to be powerful, but they don't want it to be in its strongest form at level 9. They want it to come later. That makes the most sense to me, at least.
Oh, okay. So you think that they're actually trying to stop too much power from coming at level 9?
That's seems like the most straightforward rationale behind ranks versus levels.
I've always believed that that you should be able to invest in any type of power you want, essentially, um, as long as you're giving up something else in return. So maybe shift some of the power into his other skills as they progress through the levels. But I agree with you that this will be a non-trivial heal reduction for him, but he can still use those ghouls.
All right. I am sorry, guys. I did not mean this to take as long as the Lord of the Rings film series, but we were trying to blast through these changes. I guess I didn't realize just how many goddamn changes there were. All right. Next up is Yuumi, and I don't really have much to say on this champion other than I think she's always kind of just lazily designed. And I think she's been nerfed so many times to the point where I don't really think she's kind of the terror that she kind of used to be for several months there or whatever. Especially the way they made the Zumi's cost, her max mana, and forces her to keep using her passive. I mean, it really cut down on how effective she could be, I think.
Yeah, I think that was a good change that they made. Now, as far as these changes, they made very light changes to Bop and Block. At the first level, in fact, it's only 4 less shielding. 4 points less. Even at level 18, it's only 10% less. With the AP ratio being 30 to 25. Pretty light changes. Zoomies, they made bigger changes there, particularly the 35% to 25% AP ratio for a champ, a support champ that usually builds a lot of AP. I mean, I've seen a lot of them even go Rabadons.
Yep.
So they really hit her on the Zoomies, and good riddance to the Zoomies. I hate that skill.
It already gives a lot of movement speed and attack speed still.
Right. But with that said, this is an interesting change because Yuumi, who has the lowest level 1 health pool in the game, except maybe Mininar, I'm not sure, but has one of the lowest health pools in the game, got the same 70 health at level 1 and 14 health growth per level to what had been a pretty pitiful base health. And this is going to let her use her Bop and Block more and actually encourage slightly more skillful play for Yuumi players. which
So-
I like.
It's almost like they just gave the same change to every champion without a thought in the world.
It is like that, but but in this case, I think they lucked out because between that and the possibly intentional going light on Boppin block and going intentionally heavy against the Zoomies, I think they actually almost gave Yumi, I don't want to say a mini rework, but a slight change in their playstyle that's really going to make for a healthier game.
All right. I think you're reading a bit too much into those changes, to be honest. Okay, next up is Zach, and I think this guy actually got kind of hit pretty hard by these changes. I think it is like max potential. He could actually heal a lot more off of the chunks than he can now, or he will be. I think this kind of hurts.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a lot farther than you will there. I'm gonna say rest in peace, you big goofy bloblet, because not only is his main source of healing reduced by 20%, which is a little less than 20, it's about 13% once you consider the max health will be a little bit higher. But in addition to that, all of Zach's basic abilities have percent current health, which means he's going to be spending more health every single time he uses an ability and getting less health back. This is so sad. Like, this guy has been, shoved into a grave. They like exploded the tombstone. We're not going to know what happened to Zach this match.
I'm not too negative.
I got run over.
I don't think his ability to sustain was actually the most important part of his kit. I think it's just how consistent his engage is, and he didn't lose any of that kind of stuff.
He didn't lose that, but he's going to have to be spending more health every single time he wants to do that. I think it's 8% on the Q and 4% on the other abilities. And so he basically doesn't really get any benefit from this health package. It's a similar type of thing to Soraka. I really think that Zach is going to be, and he was a good champ as of last patch. He was really useful. I think he's going to be like a D tier champ.
Well, with Soraka, so much of her ability to perform is tied into her abilities. I feel like a lot of Zach's abilities to perform is tied into how tanky he can get, and he can still get pretty tanky.
This is interesting. So you think he's actually not going to be hurt that much?
Like I said before, I don't think his ability to heal himself was that crucial to his kit. It was just really nice.
Right. That was a nice thing. For me, it's more that he's getting less benefit from the extra base health and the extra resist because he has to spend that health skills.
Now, why don't you think they brought that ultimate back where he scoops people up and moves them around?
Yeah, I really liked his old ultimate. It was pretty cool too.
No, I like the one he has.
Yeah, I think both of them are pretty cool, honestly.
I'm surprised how short that was actually in the game, and they actually bothered to program all that up and stuff.
I just love when he stretches his arms out and bops people's heads together. It's one of the funniest things that happens in League of Legends.
All right, one of our last ones I'd like to mention. I don't think it was out of the neighborhood for Zilean to see a nerf on his ultimate, but he did manage to escape that cruel, cruel fate.
I had that as well. His chrono shift does 600 to 1100.
It's like a 200% AP ratio too.
Plus, yes, 200% AP. Who knows why they left that untouched?
They just forgot.
You think they forgot?
Yeah, they just forgot, man. Come on.
I think they remembered some tiny little scrap shield on Rumble, and managed to take that down by 90, but forgot Zilean.
No, I think they had one person that went through all the champions, and then originally just nerfed everything by 10%, and then a second guy came through and just touched up shit, and he was the goofball that made all the crazy fucking changes to Nunu and other shit. And then they were like, okay, job's done. And then they didn't even check on the first guy's work that he forgot a dozen things. That's what I think happened.
You think that was the story of patch 1210, huh?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe, trying to think through it. I don't think they touched Renata Glask's revive. I don't think they touched they obviously didn't touch Zilean's revive. I don't think they touched Guardian Angel either. So maybe they just, for some reason, decided that revives should not be touched.
They forgot.
You think they just forgot?
Yeah.
If anybody from the Riot Balance team is out there, let us know.
All right. Next up. Oh, that was the last one.
Yay!
All right. I don't want to go into too much detail in here. Long story short, everything they got lifesteal took a small hit, and everything they got grievous wounds took a small hit. One thing I will point out is I'm really disappointed by the change to Bloodthirster. I think that should have always stayed at 20 as like the definitive OG lifesteal item. So that is kind of disappointing. Let me just talk about all these and then you can say whatever you want, okay?
Sure thing.
Okay, and then we're going to move on to, honestly, that Death's Dance passive. The first iteration of that was super good, and then I think after that, I don't really think it's been very good. And then Demonic Embrace, I don't even know. This is the only damage change, if I'm not mistaken, where they nerf the damage on... Oh, no, there is a nerf
There's
at the
definitely
bottom.
Duration change.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose to nerf this at all. It's pretty much in line with Leandries. And then they've been talking about Divine Thunder and nerfing that for ages, so I'm not too surprised by that. As long as it still has the same health shred, which it does, I'm not too broken up over this. Now, this is something important I want to point out. Earlier, I mentioned that the Victor change was the stupidest and most meaningless change in this patch. I was actually wrong, because I forgot about my whole discussion I was going to have on Doran's Ring. Now, if we break this down really carefully, we can diagnose that they like change this from if you don't have mana, it's actually ability to heal you or something. It actually lost like less than 1 HP or something regen per 10 seconds or whatever the hell. I broke it down a few days ago about how petty this change was. This is why I'm so sure that this first guy just went through here and he was like, okay, check mark, check mark, check mark. Because this change is so unbelievably far-flung, otherworldly meaningless, it just blows my mind. Now you can get back onto that. Do you got anything to say about Doran's Ring there?
Doran's Ring, well, first of all, like, 45% as a healing ratio is a little bit annoying, but I do like that they increased the mana regen. Now that fights will last a little longer, and it'll be a little bit harder to push champs out of lane by reducing their health, Doran starts looking, I think, like a better item than Corrupting Potion for some champions that don't build tier. Basically, just that extra, I think it's a quarter of a mana per second regen. Comes out to about 15 per minute. It's just going to give it a nice little bump up in this slower meta where less champs are being pushed out of lane.
Aren't you upset that this is only going to heal, was half a hit point instead of it could have healed like 3/4 of a hit point?
I already forgot about that.
Or something like that. I think it's actually whatever 45% of...
I think it'll actually heal more because the conversion is from the mana regeneration, or it's from the yeah, it's from the increased mana regeneration. So you're actually healing slightly more.
Whatever. It's pretty small.
Nothing, Burger.
Okay. I was kind of upset by the change to Elixir of Wrath. I felt like that was kind of fun at the end of the game. I don't think they really needed to change that. No one bought it at the beginning of the game anyway. And then we get down to some changes that I don't agree with as much, which is the changes to some of these tank items. Now, I know these are all in regards to shield changes and stuff, but I don't know. I just kind of feel like the tank items should have been left alone, in my opinion. What do you think?
Which particular tank item are you looking at?
Well, Fimbulwinter, Stoneplate, Sterix, stuff like that.
Those are basically just changed to compensate for the changes to max health. Maybe not Fimbulwinter, but I think Stoneplate, for example, was. So some of them, it's essentially a break-even power level. Fimbulwinter in particular is a nerf. As far as whether they should have done it, no, I don't think they should have done it. Particularly for the ones that are not based off of max health. I feel like taking value away from items is going to just push other items to be more powerful in comparison to them.
All right, and then we got the changes to like armor pen and spell pen. I guess they just wanted to keep their idea of trying to slow down the game or something, because all those got hit too.
Exactly what it was, I think.
And I don't really like this nerf to Knight's Vow. It's actually one of my favorite items. Even if it's just minuscule, I still really like that item. Now, what I'm really upset is this nerf to Locket. I think this was already... They should really just not even make this item a mythic, because nobody wants to buy this over the other support mythics, in my opinion. I honestly think that it just sucks, and ever since they removed the health scaling from the shield, it just hasn't been the same.
Exactly. It used to be pretty popular when it had health scaling, and now there's not a lot of reason to buy this item over some of the other mythics that tanks can buy. Especially now that Even Shroud is in the game for a lot of champs that would have bought it.
Yeah, towards the end of its lifetime as a good item, I would actually buy the Locket on Cho'Gath and run the Stone Plate so you could get a lot of health and then bust the Locket and give your whole team a crazy-ass shield. It was really cool. It was cool for those, like, a year or so that you could do that. Okay.
Yeah. So the ones that I thought were particularly interesting changes or impactful, the Immortal Shield Bow, like I said before, this has been the ADC mythic designed to protect you and give you enough time to do damage. All of its effects basically tie into healing or shielding you in some way, and that makes it, in my opinion, the most badly hit mythic of the entire bunch. I was of the opinion this item was a little bit overtuned before, and this probably places it in line with Kraken and Gale Force. What do you think?
I feel like AD carries don't really have a lot of things they can build that aren't... I mean, there's really nothing that they can build at the moment that they want to build that is... Well, they don't want to build tank items, and what I'm saying is there's not a lot of defensive items that they can build that make a lot of sense and also give critical strike, so...
Right.
Yeah,
this was the...
I don't think they should have nerfed it.
Yeah, but I do think it was a little bit overpowered compared to the other ones. So,
I don't know, man. Kraken Slayer is pretty fucking busted.
you think Kraken was as good or better than Shield Bow?
Well, let me say this. When I saw all the new items, like one of those preseasons where they added all this shit, I honestly didn't think Kraken Slayer was going to actually make it into the game. That's crazy. I'm like, well, let's make everybody Vayne. That sounds smart.
Yeah. I was always surprised it was doing like a fixed mana true damage and not based off of max health.
What?
The next...
That would have been absolutely fucking bananas.
Well, I mean, do a lot less, but, maybe do like, 3% of their max health instead of whatever Kraken does. As far as Moonstone Renewer, this is a 17% reduction to all of Moonstone's effects, continuing the nerf being done to healers and shielders. Yes, it'll have a little bit of an easier time building up all the stacks because the fights will be slower, but this just hurts anybody who's already using heals and shields and using Moonstone. I think some supports with reliable slows might want to look more at Imperial Mandate for the next patch, which I thought was a fine item to begin with, but always seems to get me flamed for building in solo queue.
It's because it sucks.
It does about 200 bonus damage if your ally follows onto it with a 2-second cooldown.
And it's been nerfed like 3 times.
I really think there are use cases for Imperial Mandate, but I think now that Moonstone has been nerfed so badly, I think there's even more reason to look at it. Seraph's Embrace, you have a 28% reduction in the healing amount going on there. That's definitely going to hurt battle mages like Ryze and Cassiopeia, but I don't think it's going to change their itemization at all. It'll just give them a little bit less heal.
The change to Sunfire Cape makes me really upset.
Sunfire Cape, really?
Yeah, I don't know why they nerfed the damage on it. It's already been nerfed a few times.
Yeah, that actually is bigger than I realized at first.
Probably has something to do with the fact that it scales with health, so they were like, well, we gave everyone 300 health, so fuck this item.
It could be that. I mean, they're trying to proactively adjusting items. Yeah, but I wish they would have done that with
bullshit.
The
next 3 months, we're going to see the impact of...
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just trying to read intent. Last one that I really want to mention is the Serpent's Fang. So this item has been untouched, but its effect is now reducing 35% of a smaller, less significant shield. Like again, not only are the shields smaller, but they're less significant in comparison to the total health. So this is a pretty big implicit nerf to me. You might still want Serpent's Fang if your opponent team is very heavy on shields, but otherwise, I would say look elsewhere. I think Serpent's Fang is a lot less relevant now than it is 2 days ago.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. Finally, just want to point out that Warmog's armor was untouched, which is fine. Just wanted to point it out.
You mean they shouldn't have nerfed that a 15th time?
Yeah.
You know, in my grandpappy's day, that item gave 1500 HP.
The one thing I really like about the newer Warmog's armor is that you can build it on Soraka. It used to be a complete impossibility.
Well, if that's it for the items, let's move on to almost the end here, and that's all the changes to runes. Be honest, I'm kind of upset by just about pretty much every one of these changes, I gotta say. Especially to, like, Guardian and Conditioning. I took Conditioning, like, every fucking game, I think. So, I don't really care about the damage of Grasp. I only care about the health gain, so that's not too big.
They increased the resistances on Conditioning.
What?
Oh, no, I'm wrong. They reduced... Yeah. You gotta love this patch note. Increased resistances reduced to 4% from 5%.
About to say, you're fucking full of shit. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, I'll take large, small fries, please. Oh, yeah. So I had read this one wrong. I liked the change when they increased the resistances, but they didn't. They decreased them. I'm with you here. That's.
And then Conqueror got nerfed for the 27th time. What are you gonna do? People will still take that on a lot of its like core users, so it's never gonna like go out of style probably.
Players have to take lethal tempo.
Yeah, I really hate what they did to Guardian. I was actually taking Guardian on Shen top for a very long time now because it's funny. Then we get into some of the goofball changes down bot. We got a nerfs to a bunch of shit that nobody ever even fucking took, which is always funny. Yeah. If you think people are taking Nullifying Orb before, it's kind of funny.
I don't know. Sometimes if you have a rune that your champion can't use, I think it becomes a Nullifying Orb.
You're right. They nerfed the accidental use of this rune. And the only problem is it just has no late game scaling, pretty much. It could be shit in the early game if they just made it pay off in the late game, but they don't even want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I always found it a little bit weird that it's just a magic shield as well.
Yeah, and then we got... Then we got Overheal. Now, I'm sure there's someone out there who has some brilliant thing that they do and one brilliant pick that they play that actually makes good use of this. But whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I thought for a minute it was old Olaf Top or Vladimir, but you really just don't want to take precision on mages a lot of the time. Now, I don't know. This thing just sucks. It should be good, but it sucks.
I mean, I occasionally like this on... the problem is it's in the same line as Triumph. I occasionally like it on basically ADCs, where you have someone like a Soraka or a Yumi that's going to be constantly giving you heals bot lane. But the fact that it's in the same line as Triumph does make it hard to justify.
Yep. And then I think the biggest change is the nerf to Aerie here, and this is kind of a slap in the face to pretty much every enchanter, I gotta say. It's not a big nerf, but it does suck.
It's just another little shank to the heart of all the enchanters this patch, right?
Yeah, it's like they just want you to play nothing but Brand and Zyra down there. And then we got Taste of Blood. I don't know why they even bothered to change this. It only activates like every fucking 20 seconds or something. Let's look. Oh, 16 to... Oh no, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I don't even know why they bother. Just some more nitpicking bullshit.
I have nothing to say. I think discussing this change is a waste of time.
Yep. And then Triumph, I don't think this one's a waste of time. I think
No,
so. I think everyone who's ever played this game has been saved by Triumph so many times that you always think of Triumph fondly. And even a 2% nerf to this, I think, is going to have some. It's going to echo out there.
What's weird is there's so many different times where I see like a champ just like about to like DOT to death, and then they get a takedown and their health increases, and I look and they don't have Triumph, and I'm always wondering where the hell is that coming from. So I still have not figured that out. It's not like a Death's Dance type of thing. It's not a champion ability. I think there might be something somewhere in the code that is just like occasionally accidentally giving champs health back to get a takedown.
The only thing I can think of is the XP you get from takedown makes you level up, and when you level up, you gain the stats per level.
Oh, you do, although the health is only based on your current percentage health, which is very low. Anyway, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but yes, this 12 to 10 Triumph might actually open the way for champs who were taking it to go to either Presence of Mind or Overheal.
No, bullshit. Everyone's still going to take Triumph. It's just too good, man. That other shit sucks. Presence of Mind is okay sometimes. Overheal's a joke. Presence of Mind can be good.
Or Rune. Yeah, I do think this will open up room for Presence of Mind more.
I don't think so. It is good, but Triumph is just super good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're down to the meat and potatoes, finally. We got the summoner spells, and I'm also surprised they even bothered to change these at all. These are kind of so ingrained, but I think it just proves that nothing is sacred over at Riot Games.
And nothing should be sacred. And really, nothing should be sacred. There's nothing in tradition. I mean, like, even Walt Disney, just to make a little bit of a tangent. For all the theme park fans who say Walt Disney wouldn't have wanted it this way, Walt Disney said, "My park will never be complete." Essentially, nothing is sacred, no matter how much something is liked. If you can replace it with something better, you should replace it with something better. Now, whether these changes were better on Riot's part, I'm going to say probably not.
Well, thanks for getting my video taken down with that political statement. Alright. I got a friend that, my friend Matt, he actually is a huge Barrier fan. He likes taking Barrier mid all the time, so whatever. I don't think it's very good.
I do nerfs to heal Barrier and Ignite. We'll probably see more exhausts and marginally more teleports in the game.
Alright, let's close this up. Our second to last change is going to be these dragon buffs, and really all they do is represent stuff that gave shielding and healing and stuff. I am kind of disappointed. I actually liked these two. These two were like my favorite, I think. So this is kind of a bummer.
I completely agree. Sorry, did I cut you off, or?
No, these two were my favorite. I think the two new ones are stupid.
These two are my favorite as well. The two new one, well, there's only one new one now. They got rid of Chemtech.
Okay, well that's still stupid.
And honestly, I've always found the rewards from the Dragon Souls, particularly ones that are not named Fire or Hextech, to be very, very minor, and almost to the point of not even really being worth going for them unless you can already just get them without any type of cost. So to see these changes made, and particularly the Ocean Dragon Soul, the Oceanic Will. So that's the each stack of the Ocean Drake.
Mm-hmm.
That taken away, whereas most of the other like passive out of combat healing, the Garen, the Wukong, the Warmog's armor being left alone, and to see them actually take away more from Oceanic Will, just felt like a really bad change to me. I wish they had not made any of these changes on the neutral buffs.
Yeah, I was actually happy with the state of things before they added those two dragons. I actually liked it when Cloud Drake gave the ultimate cooldown. That was cool. but they changed that to something else.
I think they changed it to movement speed after you use your ultimate.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
there you go.
Cool too. But quite honestly, I don't think it would have been a bad idea to give Air Drain both of us.
Okay, let's move on to our last two changes. We got some buffs to Baron Nashor, and these, like most of the changes, seem to just want to make these objectives a little more hardy to stall out the game and make them a little more difficult to fight over. And when I look at the Baron or the turrets, basically they just all received buffs. So
Yeah.
I'm actually really happy to see this, to be honest.
Yeah, I was actually really happy as well. I like this new stronger Baron in particular. Gonna make it a little bit harder to two-man it quickly. As the other team like notices and then starts running over there to ward it, and it's already gone. It's gonna require a little more risk and a little more team commitment.
Yeah, I'm impressed that they made it stronger earlier and stronger later than it already was. Like on both ends. That's pretty cool.
So there's an interesting little edge case here. Now waits until it's out of combat 30 seconds to gain stats, which is a smart change in general. But could there be some edge cases where Caitlyn or Tristana like kind of know that a Baron fight is... They're going to try to start it, and they shoot it from over the wall like every 10, 15 seconds, every little while just to suppress its stats for a few minutes while a Baron dance goes on?
I think that is...
You think you're ever going to see that?
I think that's way too much of like a commitment to realistically see in a game.
I was thinking that could be a fun big brain move.
No. You tell me if you see that out there, because I don't watch the pro scene because I just don't care for it. I can't stand it.
Okay. I used to love the pro until they really until franchising. When they kind of took away that dream of being able to like run to the top with your friends, get really good at the game, and just basically force your way with skill into the professional scene. I thought that was always a cool dream they could dangle in front of everyone. And once they started franchising in professionals, it became less interesting to me.
Yep, money talks.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
And then finally, what about these turrets, Jason?
Yeah, this is another good change. The turret damage has gone up on every single turret at every point in the game. I particularly think that the Nexus turrets in the past have been very hard to defend unless your opponent straight up overstayed in your base. So
Yeah.
I like that they make your base a little bit easier to defend now.
Yeah, I'd be happier if they even made the inhibitor next turrets even stronger than this.
Yeah, do you think that maybe they should have given them more durability instead of more damage? Or do you think...
Yeah, I do. I think they should have given it both.
More damage and more durability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe they want to just keep the split push strong, but I agree. I would have loved to see more damage and more durability. But my favorite change from this really is the increased damage on the Nexus turrets in particular, because those have been so hard to defend.
Yeah. That's cool.
And we have somehow Iron Manned our way to the end of the patch notes, my friend.
Yeah, I want to thank you for surviving this gauntlet of changes. I don't know what the hell I was thinking in my mind. I actually thought we could blow past these in like a little over an hour. And here we are almost 3.5 hours later somehow. Pretty crazy. I did not want this to go this long, but, it is what it is. It was cool having you and Johnny together for a while. And I just want to thank you for doing this with me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. Got to spout out a little bit about my thoughts on the changes and on League in general, and I hope you bring me back.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, for a minute there, I thought that the new champion Bel'Veth might actually be in this patch with all of the crazy videos they've been releasing on her lately. But that might be in the middle of 2 patches, or it might just be for the next patch. But yeah, that concludes 12.10. I have no doubt that these changes are going to come up again and again and again in like the next 6 months. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely think that that this is going to throw the balance out of whack, and that you're going to see a lot of these changes either reverted or given some type of compensation on another part of the champs kit.
100%.
Yeah, they're doing it now, and essentially they're trying to just shake things up. And if it leaves a little bit of the earthquake damage in its midst, hopefully they can kind of refine those rough edges or those just terrible imbalances going forward. Maybe it'll be a more interesting game. It's just we got to deal with a couple of months of rough balance before we get there.
Yeah, hopefully our next video will stay within like the roughly 1 hour that I'm fine with. I'd also like to throw out there that I will be starting a new YouTube series within the next few weeks based on some Warcraft 3 content. Just throwing that out there. And with that, you got any last words, Jason?
No, I think I'm out of breath by this. But once again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, this was a bit kind of exhausting at around the 2.5 hour period. I really just blew my mind how long this took. All right, we'll see you guys at 12.11. See ya.